Starting muted.
So I'm officially flustered. I apologize. And so I have the show ready on the YouTube, and like YouTube's on kind of on delay. So like I hear the theme music for the show playing in my ear when like producer Steve starts it, and then like it starts like 15, 20 seconds later on my YouTube feed that I'm like it kicks in, but I have to pause it. And I was trying to pause it, and I did not pause it. And I was listening to Godsmack apparently is coming to the Hard Rock. I was getting the commercial, so I'm very excited for Godsmack. Not really. I've never really gotten the Godsmack, but I hope they have a good time and everybody has a good time that shows up. But yeah, my apologies. And that was on mute. I can't explain that, but I was supposed to jump over and fix the mute button. This is, of course, this is GrindersLive, the nonstop 2 hours, taking y'all straight up the lock. I say 2 hours, but actually FanDuel lock tonight, a little bit different. We have a 640 lock on FanDuel, and they're including the early Tampa Bay game. That, of course, is Tampa Bay taking on the Rockies. And DK is including the second half of the LA doubleheader. That's the LA Angels taking on the Cincinnati Reds. They're currently playing baseball right now. Somebody is no longer playing baseball right now for the Angels. That will be Shohei Ohtani, who he was pulled once again after an inning the third, whatever it was. They're officially saying it was arm fatigue. I believe he's still playing baseball just from a hitting perspective, I think. I don't know if he's been pulled yet or not. Mike Trout not in that lineup. I presume he'll be playing in the back half of the doubleheader. I would not be surprised, TJ, if we see Ohtani sit tonight. This is, for the DK slate, it's very important. And we're not going to have that lineup until, well, let's see. We're in the bottom of the third right now for the Angels. That game probably ends right around luck, depending on maybe 6:40, give or take. So, and like the lineup probably doesn't drop until all the other ones, a whole bunch of them are in, because we have, let's see, Braves, Mets at 7:20. Dodgers, Cleveland at 7:10, and two early ones at 7:05. So I think it's kind of interesting as far as the DK slate and trying to guess what's going to happen as far as that lineup. Do you think Ohtani plays in the second half? It's just kind of guesswork, but my guess would be he's not playing. But we have seen him before get pulled from a pitching perspective, but also stick around and hit. Who knows? We'll see. Theoretically, they still have a chance at winning or getting to the playoffs. That's just math, but like it's inevitable. They're not making the playoffs. Sorry. But, yeah, your thoughts as far as that and everything else. Welcome to the show. I apologize for being rattled as we jumped on air.
That's all right. I still like you, Dean. You're still a good guy in my books. You may have some flaws. You're not perfect, but that doesn't mean you're not still a great guy and a great host. This is a fun little slate. It's weird. Like, it's difficult, I find. But I'm still excited to dive into it. I got some bets in. I'm running 150 lineups. And of course got some Spidey bombs for the people every 50 likes, so keep hitting that like button. Yeah, this is gonna be a fun one.
Yeah. By the way, I didn't officially introduce you. TJ's Warwick. You guys know TJ, one of the greatest DFS players in all of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. And like I was saying sorry. Nobody can say sorry as good as you can. The chat will certainly pick up on that. And I'm it's just it's one of those words that just sort of pop. And like, wait a second. That guy's from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. I know that. I know how that sounds. It's endearing, though. I'm not making fun. By the way, shout out to producer Steve. I mentioned producer Steve. Producer Steve, newly married producer Steve. And I wasn't aware of it. Not that he's supposed to tell me or get my permission. I didn't know what was happening, but congratulations to him. If he would have set out like you, TJ, if he would have set out one of those like what do they say? Like basically, it's a kind of a way like, hey, hook me up with a gift. I know you're not going to be able to come to Saskatoon, but like here, I'm getting married, and maybe as a suggestion, you want to buy me this Beanie Baby? By all means, go for it. I'm not going to stop you. I would have happily bought producer Steve a Beanie Baby. Did he have a list? If you have a list, Steve, forward to me. Send it to me. And it was the Beanie Baby.
A gift that doesn't show up.
Yeah, I can't believe it didn't show up. I bought it was like $40 or $30. I don't know what it was. American, not loonies and toonies. We're talking real American dollars. And I think you told me it didn't show up, but I did nothing about it. I never went back and said, hey, eBay, or I don't know where I bought it from. What a racket they're running. And I let him get away with it. But we shall move on and power through. Chat, what's up, chat? Let Steve know. Congratulate him on his wedding. Kindly hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. By the way, just so you know, you got those Spidey bombs lurking today. I presume he's somewhere. He's wandering. He's around.
Oh, yeah.
You got some new competition, because I'm not sure if you've been paying attention or not, TJ, but the dongs, in particular, Gaines dongs, have been hot. 2 out of 3 in the last 2 nights, 5 dongs in total. So, you know what? Spidey is old news. It's all about the dongs now. Just a heads up. We're coming for Spidey. That's all I'm saying. Get ready.
When Spidey's back's against the wall, that is when he is strongest. So I'm ready for I welcome competition.
With great power comes great responsibility. I don't know any more lines. Is there something else that would make sense from the movies? Like, I don't know. Is that true when Spidey's back's up against the wall? That's probably how it plays out. I'm not really sure. But yeah, I've seen most of the Spideys. But
one of the reasons I love the character so much is just because he's so strong that he has to he pulls his punches when he's fighting the bad guys because he doesn't want to kill them. He just wants to make sure that they wind up in jail, and he doesn't want to just full on murder people, right? And
sure.
So when he really is backs against the wall and he needs to fully come out full strength, it's a sight to behold.
There you go. Do we have a threshold as far as the first Spidey bomb? What do we drop on the
50,
people? Usually
every 50 likes.
Okay. A lot of times we come on here, we get the 50 legs right out of the way. So it's a short slate. We can get in all sorts of conversations. We can break this slate down from multiple angles. And again, keep in mind, a little bit different as far as the slate. Fanduel lock is at 640. Crunch time still coming on the same time. You're going to get DerekCarty. You're going to get SquirrelPatrol not officially quitting his job. He's still here. He's still sticking around despite at least in one lineup in San Diego. He took the 600K. So I don't know what the rest of them were. I assume he had more than one entries. He finished second. So congratulations to Squirrel. We'll have to congratulate him when he comes on. That was the DK Live final. And, of course, you get chief meteorologist Kevin Roth holding it down. And they're going to stick around, presumably, if there's more questions. If needed, they'll stick around beyond 640 and, answer the DK questions as well. Taking you guys up to lock as close as possible. I imagine as long as the questions are being fired in, they will stick around. It's a short slate, very, very short slate. And, if you look at the bat, I think the bat is projecting it well. I know the RG projections are projecting it well. And I'm curious as far as your screenshot, because I'm seeing Luis Severino grabbing a ton of ownership on a short slate. And come on, man. I know it's Washington, but he's been a disaster pretty much all season long. He's had a few moments here and there, but we've seen 4 bad starts in a row. Collectively, one of the worst pitchers in all of baseball this season. That's one of my bigger stands. Is just I'm not going to say I'm not going to play him, but I'm going to be well under the field on Severino. We'll dig into that. But give me your screenshot. What are we looking at? And I should mention, like I mentioned before, DK is including that late. The back half of the Cincinnati Angels doubleheader. We will not have lineups until probably 7-ish, depending on currently top of the 4th, 3-0 Angels. But and by the way, it looks like Ohtani was removed for Chanel, I believe, is DHing now for the Angels. So out of the game completely, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and assume he's not playing tonight then either.
I guess not. I mean, he can certainly DH, but yeah, whatever. Trout, you got to assume Trout's back because he didn't play the first game.
Yeah.
Screenshot of the slate.
I'm really thinking I want to go really heavily overweight on Kevin Gausman today. I think I want to just get as much of him as physically possible tonight. Maybe I'm still considering a lock button. Maybe not. But going to mix and match a bunch of different of these cheap pitchers today. Gausman's the expensive one I want to focus on. And then the offense is I'm planning on playing some Severino today. I recognize that I'm ruining the feud a little bit here, but I'm planning to play some Severino, but I'm also planning on having Washington to be my highest owned stack today. So that's kind of how I'm going to combat it, get 30% Washington and 30% Severino, because he's so cheap that if he gets 5 to 6 innings and only gives up 2 runs, there's a good chance he could be optimal tonight. But if he continues to just be absolutely terrible and Washington, even though they're not great, lights him up, I want to make sure I have a lot of them. Muted again.
All right, bad job by me. Bad hosting job. TJ, this is not looking good for you. This is not going to be in my reel. Again, I'm not submitting this to anybody else. We're looking at Detmers getting a ton of ownership, it looks like, at least according to the bat. I'm curious what we have as far as the MLB plate IQ. Detmers, 7.6K as an SP2, pitching for the Angels this evening. The bat thinks he's going to get a ton of ownership. Severino's ownership has actually went down throughout the day. It's lower. We have 24% on the bat. Let's see what the RG projections have. They typically are very similar. RG actually has Detmers at only 27%. Gausman at 28, Gore at 24, Severino at 16. So that, I feel like that's like plummeted throughout the day. It's kind of like we saw the other day where I can't remember who it was, but like some of those pitchers he just did not want to roster, and it just kept creeping down and creeping down and creeping down. And we saw yesterday, you know, we were all talking about, it's like, are we in our bubble, or is like everybody going to play Grayson Rodriguez? And everybody played Grayson Rodriguez. Like he was so heavily owned. I assume you did as well. I don't know if you played that last night, but yeah, and he was okay. He salvaged. That's a rough, first or second, and then can't remember which one. They got him pretty good. On FanDuel, worth mentioning that Aaron Savali, he's throwing baseballs against the Rockies. The Rockies are horrendous. They take one of the worst ballpark downgrades that exists, jumping from Colorado to Tampa. So Savali, despite the fact he's 9.7K, is getting 22% ownership, and a bit of a significant decline as far as the asking price. 11K for Gausman. You get 9.7 to Savali, basically one more bat. Charlie Morton is also throwing baseballs, and he's just somebody I don't really trust. I know the Mets are, you know, quote unquote gutless at times, many times, one of the biggest disappointing, you know, disappointments on the season. But, you know, it just feels like too expensive for Charlie Morton. I know he was spectacular his last time out versus the Yankees, and good for him. But previous to that, kind of up and down. I'm curious to get your take on that. But you mentioned, and I guess the feud, it's only, 6 games. It's hard to play the feud. It's such a small slate. I suppose we can. But, yeah, talked about Gausman as far as the lock button. Is that just like sort of like last night again? Like Zach Gallen was the most talented pitcher in the slate. Could you point some holes in that matchup? Sure. Was there reasons why he wasn't the most heavily owned pitcher? I had him in single entry last night, not a victory lap, like at 4%. And the rest of my lineup was kind of stinky, and I min cast just because he was phenomenal. But yeah, why don't we just lock in the best pitcher on the slate? I guess you can argue Kershaw, but you know, pitch count, yada yada. That's the plan, right? Just let's play Gausman because he's the best, and we'll move on. That's what I'm hearing from you, at least.
Yeah, I think so. That's my plan. It's just not locking him in, sorry, but like making him my highest owned guy. Probably trying to get close to double the field on him today. I don't think I'm quite going to hit the lock button just because Baltimore is a good offense. He is by far there's just not by far the most expensive pitcher on the slate, because obviously Kershaw's close. Morton's not that far away. But the difference between him and some of these other guys are so drastic. And I do think he's really the only one that can put up 30-plus points tonight. And so that's why I want to get so heavily overweight on him. It's not the floor. He could have a bad game just like anybody else. I don't think anybody else can go for over 30 DK points today. And so that's why I want to make sure I'm getting as overweight on Gausman as possible. I'll make some stands on some other guys. Others I'll try and get pretty close to the field, but I actually have a pretty big pool considering the size of the slate.
Chris Sale, yeah, OMG Father's asking why Chris Sale is so expensive. Yeah, I don't totally get that. Just kind of running down the pitchers. I know he's a lefty taking on the Astros, and their two best hitters are lefties, but probably not getting to much Chris Sale. We're giving him 80 pitches as an allotment and not fully stretched out. The cheapies aren't spectacular. It's kind of a strange slate. And like you said, like Gausman is not perfect, but the best pitcher on the slate went from a K perspective, 31.7%. The Sierra of the season at 3.17. That's really, really solid. We've talked about how that Baltimore ballpark is, a little bit more pitcher friendly than it has been in previous years. All this stuff kind of like put together. I'm going to be over in the field on Gausman as well. I did make some FanDuel lineups before the show, and basically I think it was just Gausman and Savali. I made 5, and I think it was 2 Gausman, 2 Savali, and I made 1 Severino, like just in case, because you mentioned being on Washington. I am too, but a little bit of a hedge. Like, what if Severino's not completely terrible, and then you can have a lot of fun rostering, yourself some Dodgers and some Braves. But then the other thought is like, well, isn't that what everybody else is doing? That's rostering Severino. They're just rostering Dodgers and Braves because they're the 2 best, offenses on this slate. But okay. But I made like a different iteration. We can dig into that, all sorts of things on this show as we kind of move on and power through. DK wise, what time is our last ownership? Okay, 5:00. So, all right, we'll get a new batch at some point, I'm sure. And whenever the Angels lineup comes out, I don't know how that's going to affect ownership because who knows when that's going to be coming out. But the Angels are also really, really well positioned against Cincinnati because Do we know who is officially throwing baseballs? Because I've seen mixed reviews, mixed reports as far as the Reds. This Brett Kennedy character, who I'm told exists, looks terrible. He's the guy that RG has. I know DK has somebody different. Lion Richardson was a person that was called up, and he's their 27th man. Do we know who they're anticipating on starting the second game? Maybe it's like a, kind of like we saw with Greinke yesterday, 3 innings and 3 innings, just kind of stack them on top of each other. But neither look good is the point. And the tricky part is Ohtani's probably not going to be in that lineup, but I love the Angels, which is a rare thing for me. Yeah. Do you have a read as far as who is starting tonight for the Reds? How much does it matter for you?
Well, I mean, right now the bat has Kennedy projected for how many pitches here? 88 pitches, so pretty close to a full allotment. I am going to have Brett Kennedy in my pool.
Oh.
Because if we get no Ohtani and we happen to get no Trout, if he's just like, I'm a little bit sore and he's taking the whole day off, then I want to get to him. If we get, because we're not going to get that lineup before lock. And so if after lock, we see that Trout is in that lineup, and it's a pretty decent lineup, Trout's there, Grichuk's there, and it's like it's looking solid, then I'm going to try and change all my Brett Kennedy teams to either Urquidy, Dean Kramer, or Luis Severino, depending on how much salary is left. But I think I'm going to just keep him in the pool in a 150 max setting, and then if there's no Trout, no Ohtani, and that lineup is just dreadful, I'll take a shot.
Yeah, the numbers aren't good. He's not a prospect. He's 29 years old. They just need somebody to eat some innings. But I guess you're just hoping the same thing. Like we saw Dallas Keuchel the other day. If BABIP's in your favor, sometimes you can just sort of figure out how to get by in 5 or 6 innings. You're probably not going to rack up a huge score, but would you take 11 points or 10 points or maybe even 9 points out of Brett Kennedy? Probably, right? I think you would.
If Severino and Urquidy are terrible, then all of a sudden, great. That's looking pretty awesome.
Yeah, both those guys, Severino is not, above taking a 0 or less than a 0. And Urquidy, things can go poorly from as well. It's an interesting thought process, and we'll see. Stay tuned. I'm not making enough lineups around to play some Kennedy, but I understand what you're doing there, and it's kind of a bet against those two pitchers because it's similar price points, and that's DK only, to be clear. Again, we kind of mentioned how Fanduel and DK, 2 different sites tonight. As far as the early game goes to Fanduel, the late game goes to DK. Butthole Jenkins, our boy Butthole Jenkins in the chat. Severino not making it past the 3rd inning tonight. Why play him? He might make it past the 3rd inning. He's cheap, and Washington, is kind of punchless. There's some power there, I suppose, but I'm more on the side of playing Washington and trying to get away from Severino. I thought the ownership was going to be higher. I'm surprised how it's kind of dwindled down during the day, but Severino, he's going to pitch 3 innings most likely, I think. And from a Washington perspective, I want him to stick around as long as possible.
For what it's worth, we are over 50 likes, so it's time for the first Spidey Bomb. Keep smashing that like button, and we'll get lots of Spidey Bombs today. We got our second one coming at 100 likes, but Spidey Bomb number 1, plus 430 on FanDuel. I'm going with Marcell Ozuna.
Yeah, he's been on fire, man. It felt like he was not too far away from getting DFA'd earlier in the season, and he's been spectacular that last couple months. I'm just going to counter every single Spidey Bomb. I'm going to counter with a dome. So Be prepared, be ready. So now, usually I kind of come up with them on the show on the fly, but now let's do it. Let's see what we have as far as I wish I had that Angels lineup, but I'm going to say Lane Thomas. I'll take Lane Thomas. I'll see your Marcell Ozuna, and I'll counter with a Lane Thomas dong. He was my dong last night. The one that did not get there. I think he doubled, but that's not good enough. That's not a dong.
Plus 600 on Caesars.
Oh, that's pretty good. I think that's pretty good. Plus 600?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. What is Abrams at? What's CJ Abrams? You happen to have it in front of you?
Not as high as I wanted it to be. I was looking at him. Abrams is plus 560 on FanDuel as his best.
Yeah.
And then I think like the best bet from the Nationals today, if like from a projection standpoint and what their odds are, is Keibert Ruiz. He's plus 600 on FanDuel. And he is their highest projected guy to hit a home run, I believe, on our scores and odds. So Ruiz and then Ruiz on FanDuel and maybe Thomas on Caesars are probably the two best ones there. Joey Meneses is plus 675 on Caesars. So they got some good ones.
Yeah, the power hasn't been there so much for Meneses this year versus righties. Sort of came out of nowhere last season, 29, 30 years old as a rookie, 131 ISO this year versus righties. I think if you stretch that back, if you include last season, get yourself a bigger projection, that's going to jump up some. Yeah, so in total, 155, which is distinctly better. I just feel like Severino's going to give up one or two. Like, we'll see. Stay tuned. Not really sure about that, but that's kind of where I'm at. Severino is just, once upon a time he was a really good pitcher, but that was a while ago, and I'm not betting on that coming back anytime soon. It sounds like you agree. Let's pick on some Severino tonight. All right, and he's also kind of reverse splitsing. That's the reason why I picked as my first one. That's why I picked Lane Thomas, but I'm good with Abrams as well. Maybe that's that right field line can kind of average that out, and the power has been a little bit better of late. And Abrams, again, kind of a late bloomer. Took him a while to get here, but the wheels have always been there, but the power is starting to come. Now he's hitting leadoff, and going forward, it's a nice piece to have for Washington. The main piece in that Juan Soto trade, so not a complete shock that he's turning into a better player. What else is going on in chat? We want to engage the chat as much as possible today because we're here for the next 50 minutes until we yield to crunch time. Crunch time coming in at around 6:15 or so. They'll take you guys up to Fanduel Lock, through Fanduel Lock, and talk DK, and stick around to answer your DK questions. What did you have in the first slate? You said you had a bunch of your bets were tied to Ohtani.
I didn't play the early slate at all. I slept in this morning, but I made a bunch of parlays for this evening, whereas I usually do home run combos, and then the other thing I do is just my favorite individual bats on the slate and different people who have good odds to go 2+ bases, and I mix them in with my favorite odds to for K props. And I had Ohtani layered at 7Ks, 8Ks, 9Ks with all these guys on the evening slate, and they're just all dead now.
That's brutal. That's the worst. Yeah. Oh yeah, I was mentioning this to your pre-show. Somebody in chat tell me how to do this. Well, why can't we find mentions anymore on Twitter? I was trying to find the people talking to DK Sportsbook and FanDuel Sportsbook, demanding a refund because it was rigged. And Ohtani, a dude that set up to get $500 million in the offseason, was obviously paid off to leave this game early by the books because nobody understands you can also bet unders. This is all fictitious, and I'm not being serious. Just understand I'm not making any allegations, but it is always fascinating to read the mentions. You ever do this, TJ, or is that just me that enjoys that? And it's one of my favorite things to do when I see. I don't root for people to get hurt, but if they get hurt, my first thing is, let's go to Twitter. I'm sure people are completely reasonable and not complain to the books that their bet is now dead, and somehow it was not on the up and up. Somebody just can't get hurt. There has to be a reason why. It's got to be suspicious for sure. Is that just me? And I can't find the mentions. I'm very tilted.
Yeah, I think that's just you. Maybe a couple other people's, but I like to spend my time elsewhere.
Eric wants us to talk about Chris Sale. I will yield. Talk about Chris Sale.
No, it's a great idea to stack against him today, and Houston is one of my favorite stacks. That's all I want to talk about Chris Sale.
Yordan Alvarez left yesterday's game. He left the official lineup with I think he cut himself on something in the locker room. I can't remember what the story was exactly, but he was not in the lineup. He was scratched. He's not in the lineup again, so it's not the strongest Houston lineup. Altuve, Bregman, Tucker, McCormick jumping up to the cleanup spot. You got Diaz, Abreu, Pena, Myers, and Maldonado. We have one lefty, right? Yeah, one lefty against Sale. That'll be Chris Tucker. It's Kyle Tucker. Yeah. So do we like this Houston lineup? How much does it hurt it that there's an absence of Yordan?
Hurts not really that much for me. He's actually been weirdly like letting me down a lot lately, but to me, this just makes this stack cheaper. Chris Sale has looked really bad since coming back from injury. No velocity on that fastball. Let's keep hitting the like button because my Spidey Bum number 2 may or may not be from this team.
Well, I shout out to producer Steve. Like normally in the scroll, we get the Spidey bombs, but we got a little respect for the dongs. Dean's dong is also scrolling there too. Now the pressure's on. Like I just kind of did it under the radar. I like to yield to my my co-host. I like to let y'all shine. Just kind of set y'all up. I'm happy to get the assist. You guys put the points in the bucket. But now that we put a light on the dongs, I feel like they have to step up. So, they've been hot, but like now, bright lights. It's prime time. So we'll see how that turns out. A couple questions in regard to We Majors asking about Fanduel specifically. You playing on Fanduel? I'm playing on Fanduel. I don't know if you are. Again, a little bit different as far as the time you're including the Colorado Tampa game. They're asking about he's asking about Dean Kramer and Savali. Your thoughts as far as Kramer and Savali? Savali's going to get a fair bit of ownership, mostly because of the ballpark environment. Well, especially because of the opponent, the inept Colorado Rockies. Right now, 22% ownership for Savali. As far as Kramer, he's getting 5% at 8K. Your thoughts as far as those two pitchers?
I like Savali in a vacuum, but at that ownership, I would definitely want to be underweight. Having said that, I don't mind him, but I would rather go to Kramer for that ownership.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel like the best chalk in the world, Savali. I guess, could we call it chalk? At 22%, that's kind of chalky. I guess so. He's the second most popular pitcher behind Gausman at 26%. And, traditionally, Savali's not the kind of guy that's going to go out there and strike 10 dudes out and kind of break the slate. So, yeah, maybe I just, how does this Colorado team – they have a team total lower than 3, TJ. Lower than 3, which is not something you see all that often. 8 total on the board. Tampa is a minus 275 favorite. We're looking at Blackman, Tovar, McMahon, Rogers, Jones, Diaz, Profar, Montero, Doyle, which is kind of the best lineup they can roll out these days, I think. Off the top of my head, I don't think they're really missing anybody that really distinctly matters, but they're just pretty bad. Gore, Mackenzie Gore. Question from Michael in chat. Thoughts on Gore versus the Yankees, who I assume are at the top of the gutless rankings. Yeah, I think Kirkwood threw him out yesterday. I'm not sure if the Yankees were – I know the Cardinals were in it. I think the Padres – minus Kim. Kim, gutless by association, but on the whole, the Padres are gutless. Yankees kind of sort of gutless. They're on the fringe, if we're doing a Family Feud board. How do you feel about Mackenzie Gore in Yankee Stadium against this collection of Yankees?
I'll be getting him today. This is another kind of Severino situation for me where I like the Yankees a lot and I like Mackenzie Gore quite a bit because I feel like Gore could strike out 10 Yankees today, or Judge, Torres, and Stanton could all have home runs in the first inning. And so I want to get both sides of this one today. It feels like a strong MME slate for me. Yankees and Gore don't fall number 1 on my list, but I feel like both sides have really high upsides.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to have Gore in the pool just because you kind of sort of have to have Gore in the pool. And I hear you if you want to play some Yankees as well.
For what it's worth, I don't know who it's going to be, but it doesn't seem like it's Brett Kennedy starting.
Yeah. Okay. So DK thinks it's the 27th man they pulled up named Richardson, Lion Richardson, who's had a cup of coffee here in the majors, but very, very little experience in the majors. I want to pull him up on the fly. Why do you say Kennedy's out?
I'm looking at a tweet that says tomorrow will be Williamson and Friday will be Kennedy.
Okay, so that's from a beat, I suppose, one of the beat writers for Cincinnati.
Reds beat writer, yeah, and he says Reds rotation for Big 4 gamer in Arizona. Thursday, Brandon Williamson. Friday, Brett Kennedy. Saturday, Hunter Green. Sunday, Graham Ashcraft. I'm gonna look if he has anything for tonight.
According to Fangraphs, Lion Richardson is the 3rd-ranked prospect for the Reds, 23 years old. Looks like his fastball changeup 2 best pitches. Let's see what we're looking at as far as his numbers. I'm going to pull them up. Probably easier to see on MIIB. Unless you have anything on the fly on Lion Richardson, I'm guessing you don't.
No.
Okay. Let's see. I'm pulling it up now. We got to fill some dead air and just.
Cheaper.
What's up?
Wish he was cheaper.
How much is he?
6'6".
How is he 6'6"? Like, how is he not 4K in like real life, like genuine? Like,
he was
pitchers?
4K, and we found out he was starting against the Angels lineup that's not going to have Ohtani and maybe not Trout. I would probably play like 80% of him.
I don't know how that works, but okay. All right. I'm trying to pull this up on the fly, and it's not coming to me for some reason. All right. I'm going to go ahead and drop this in our chat as well and see if you can have a little bit more luck than I can. But we'll dig into them as the show progresses. Obviously, we're mostly talking pitchers right now, and we don't even know what the Angels lineup is going to look like. We can project, we can best guess that Ohtani will still be fatigued in several hours, and he's not going to be able to play even from a DH perspective. We can also presume that Trout's going to be back, but not fully certain what we're going to get when it comes to the Angels. But you'd expect, or at least hope, that Richardson. Well, I guess he's a bit of a prospect from what I see. I want to see his numbers in just a second. We'll dig into it. We'll talk about it.
5 wins, 21 losses, 4.27 ERA. 314 strikeouts in 77 games.
You're saying he does not have the will to win. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. I was just reading the things that Steve put up on the screen share.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk about him soon enough. What about Detmers on the other side for the Angels? This is DK only, obviously. 76.
Yeah, he is my second highest owned pitcher today. We're expecting a fairly right-handed heavy lineup for Cincinnati, and he has almost a 30% K rate against right-handed guys this year. So I'm going to be getting to a lot of Detmers. I'll get to Cincinnati as well, but Detmers is going to be my second highest owned pitcher.
So I'm pretty sure he's not going to be sneaky at all. I'm refreshing our ownership stuff, and I saw him especially popping in the bat. So our current projections have Detmers as the highest owned guy on DK. This is as of 5:20 on the East Coast, so 15 minutes ago when it comes to our most recent projection batch. 33% for Detmers, 28% for Gausman, Gore getting 25%, Kershaw. We haven't mentioned Kershaw yet. 21% for Kershaw, Morton 16, Severino down to 15, Sale at 14. So it looks like it's going to be pretty heavy Detmers chalk. Obviously, again, we don't know the Cincinnati lineup. We don't really know what we're going to get there. But, Detmers on the season, pretty good when it comes to Ks, 27.3%. The walks, kind of fringy, a little bit too high, almost 10%, 9.6%. Fair bit of fly balls, too. So, home run the fly ball, you really need it on your side.
Paul DeJong homered today. Screw that guy. What's your favorite memory of the Paul DeJong, reign on the Blue Jays for the 2 weeks he was there? What are you going to think of when you're a grandpa? You're thinking back on these time he didn't strike out.
Did he not strike out I thought he struck out every time. There was once he popped out.
No, I think he got like 2 singles or something.
Yeah. So when you're nostalgic for Paul DeJong, the reign in 2023 for your Blue Jays, that's what you'll be thinking about. There you go. So what team picked him up again? I forgot.
The Giants.
That's right. Yeah. All right. Boss Bros says nobody playing the Dodgers. No. The Dodgers are going to be very popular. We'll talk about them. How about Kershaw? Speaking of the Dodgers, pitching perspective, and I saw Dave write about this today in the article, The Musings. Cheese is good. He's also back from San Diego. Shout out to him. But it's kind of an overspend on Kershaw, but there's also I hate saying safety, but there feels like there's a fair bit of safety when it comes to rostering Kershaw. He should give you 5-ish, maybe 6 if he's being super efficient innings against a Cleveland team that we know the story with Cleveland. They're kind of similar to Washington, right? Where they're not going to strike out a ton. They're also not terribly threatening. What's our official stance when it comes to Clayton Kershaw?
0%. I'm going with the Kershaw fade today. I want to make sure all my lineups that I'm spending up at pitcher get to go to Gausman so I can get as much of him as possible. I do think Kershaw has a chance to go 20 DK points, 24 DK points if things go perfect against this weak Cleveland lineup, but he's probably only going 5-ish innings. He's probably going to get a max of 80 pitches, and I just don't think he has the big ceiling. I think I can get whatever Kershaw does from one of these cheap pitchers today, and so I would rather use all my spend-up lineups on Gausman and then get as much of these cheap guys as possible.
I apologize if you said it. Have you considered? Are you hand building, or you're just running 150, right? So you're not necessarily.
150, yeah.
So you think you're going to land on any Gausman, Kershaw kind of double barrel lineups? Is that something you think it's plausible?
0% Kershaw is what I said on.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was reading the chat, and a poor job I mean multitasking because
you're good.
Don Yeezy was saying, "Well, hey, I mentioned Kershaw the whole time. Way to read the chat." So 0 for 2. I didn't hear you, and I didn't hear Don Yeezy, but he was also touting Kershaw as well. 0% Kershaw. Yeah, you're saying you're taking a stand on Gausman over Kershaw. Interesting. I'm thinking about just playing them both together, and there's a lot of cheap stuff out there. Obviously, we live in the world of a salary cap. You're not going to be able to have Kershaw and Gausman and Mookie and Acuna. Like, it just doesn't work that way. But there are some really cheap Dodgers. There are some a couple cheap Braves, and I'm really curious what you're doing with like Kevin Pillar, who's batting second now. And, there's always that threat that he's going to get the boot once once a righty joins the game. Doesn't always happen, but situation dependent. But he is super, super cheap. And he's right in the middle of that Atlanta lineup. We've seen Michael Harris tumble down to the 6 or 7 spot versus the lefty. By the way, shout out to Michael Harris and, RIP, Narrative Street, because Michael Harris yesterday was 0 for 5 when he was like 100% owned, and it was Michael Harris bobblehead night. So, like, I thought that these things always work out, where Narrative Street says, how did they even allow that to happen? And also, if you watch the game, he took some of the most horrific at-bats you've ever seen Michael Harris take. He was terrible, disastrous last night. But, I was told that that's not possible, TJ, and there's no variance when it comes to bobblehead nights. What happened?
Well, I don't know. I took the night off last night. It was my wife's birthday, and so I didn't actually play at all.
What did you do if you don't mind? It was something romantic? We do something fun? Did we do anything special?
We made her breakfast in the morning, made some crepes, and then throughout the day we just kind of hung out, tidied the house a little bit because her family came over in the evening, and so nice chill day, but like lots of friends and family came to visit.
Yeah, when you say, and I think, did you say crepes that particular way because you're referencing a movie? Very, you're doing a very subtle reference to Talladega Nights. Is that what that was?
Yeah.
There you go. Oh, crepes are delicious. I had no idea. Yeah.
I were really fan pancakes, man. I had a big mess of crepes for breakfast.
All right. Yeah, Kenny's talking about Kershaw still getting stressed out. Yeah, and also the Dodgers, they care about, September and October. They don't care about now. They're basically going to get there. They want a healthy Kershaw when, these games actually matter. What is our official pitch count for him? Somewhere in the 80s, I imagine. 87. Okay. That's about fully stretched out. Okay. That's according to the bat. Let's see what the MLB plate IQ projections have. I'm assuming it's somewhere in the 85. Okay, so mid 80s. That's good enough for me. I know you're fading him, but I will have some Kershaw. I know we mentioned Kramer earlier. Kind of mentioned him in passing. Is he somebody that's just kind of finding his way in the lineups just because he just sort of fits? You don't necessarily love it. Toronto's not terrible. They're not great. They're a little bit underachieving. Some would say gutless, maybe at the fringe of the old gutless rankings. Where are you at as far as Kramer at 6'7"?
The stats are on them this year. It's actually bonkers. They're like top 5 in all the major MLB categories of all the AL hitting categories. They're top 5. All the major league pitching categories. They're top 5, and then they're 27th in all of baseball this year in runners in scoring position.
Yeah, that's
They compared their stats to the Orioles, and the Blue Jays are better than the Orioles and Rays in every single main category this year, and then just nowhere close to them with running and scoring position. It's crazy.
Now, do you think that's is there something to that, or it's just variance and small sample stuff? And is that a skill? You'll hear announcers being they'll just applaud guys to get a sacrifice fly with a man on third with 1 out sometimes. You sort of, or even they don't do as much as they used to. But remember back in the day, they would even say oh, great job getting the runner over. That's a productive out with nobody out, man on second. You've heard announcers say that before.
Yeah.
And they're kind of covering for they cover that team, and they're basically saying, let's applaud the guy that we're paid to root for, who even though he made an out, it's a productive out. But I don't know. Is that
but
like
there is more to that though, right? Because you look at specifically like Matt Chapman has been one of the worst players in baseball this year with runners in scoring position, and it's because his strikeout rate is so high. If you have guys on third base and you're getting groundouts and you're getting flyouts, that at least gives you the opportunity to get some RBIs home. And he's just had a stupidly high K rate with runners in scoring position this year. So I do think there is like it's not cut and dry. I think there's absolutely players who, will choke up on the bat, make sure they hit for contact a little bit more when there's guys in scoring position, guys with 2 outs. You obviously can't do any type of Carty's on the show next, so we can't say that you can quantify clutchness by any means or anything like that. But I do think there's something to be said for players who focus harder to hit for contact in those types of situations. And then additionally, you add in that like some small sample variance stuff. And then when the media, the people in yourselves get in your own head a little bit, then it's just like, they're still human beings who maybe won't execute at the best of their abilities when they're going, oh, damn, there's runners in scoring position. I suck at this. I better get better at it. You know what I mean? Like, we have no ability to quantify that or change that or anything like that. But that is still part of the human element of sports.
Yeah, and you're also not in the hitter's head as far as are they changing their mentality, or if it's a slugger, he's still going for the homer with a man on third and 1 out, that kind of thing. And like, it's sort of tricky. And like you said, there's really no way of knowing exactly even what the hitter's thinking. And I guess a lot of it is maybe sometimes a 2 strikes. You're like, okay, worst case scenario, 2 strikes. Let's get a productive out here. By the way, the projection for the Reds and Angels lineup dropping, Kyle Schwarber just homered. For what it's worth.
Yes, I got a bet on him. Good.
Yeah, there you go. Nice to
know.
Yeah, Schwarber's ridiculous. What is he have? Does he have close to 40 homers this year? I feel like he's got a lot.
Yeah, he has more homers than singles.
Is that true? Yeah, look at that.
No, I think it's now 34 home runs and 35 singles, if I'm not mistaken.
I know was it Joey Gallo for his career is basically the same when it comes to home runs and singles, which is just wild. And I feel like Adam Dunn might be another one of those guys that's for his entire career. Did Adam Dunn have close to 500 home runs? Maybe he closed in 500. I don't know how many singles he had, but he was like you think of the 3 outcome guy. Strikeout, homer, walk. That was Adam Dunn. He's the guy you would point to. And some of the longest homers in MLB history as well when it comes to measurements. The lineup that is going to be dropped eventually for Cincinnati and the Angels, the projection time, we got to back it up a little bit because now it's 4-3 Cincy. Back-to-back, by the way, Trey Turner also homered, hitting in the 2-hole today. Shout out Trey Turner.
Also, shout out to I didn't get this one in before the game started, but shout out to Britt because he put up on Scores and Odds Bobby Witt to home run today, and he did as well.
I wanted to pull up Scores and Odds because somebody had a question in there, and I wonder if there's anything relevant for the people. And yeah, Britt and myself, I partake, Keith, Noto and Grant and all sorts of people. I'm not sure if TJ, if you've dipped your toes in Scores and Odds just yet, but they're always writing up picks over there. Somebody was asking about any pitcher props. If you can pull that up on the fly, is there anybody, any pitcher props that we like tonight? J3 was asking about it.
Best one was Ohtani, and that's why I had so much of him. But there are some pretty decent unders on there right now. But like most of the better ones have come earlier today. Like the Scores and Odds projection for Morton is 6.43 strikeouts, and his line is 5.5. Gaussman's is 7.2, and his line is 6.5. So I like the Gaussman over on strikeouts a lot. That's probably my favorite bet of the day. I bet on Kershaw over 4.5. I'm fully fading him today, but I bet Kershaw over and 4.5 strikeouts because I feel like he can do that even in 5 innings. And so those are the 2 that I'm heaviest on today are Gaussman over Ks and Kershaw over Ks.
Yeah. So by the way, if you're not aware, you don't need a Scores and Odds premium for this. If you just have RG premium, one of the tools we have is the fantasy pick'em for prize picks and underdog fantasy. And it basically gives you like a win percentage. So we talk about 70% when this is not for strikeouts necessarily, but Aaron Savali under 35.5 fantasy points less. It's going to hit 70% of the time. It's a pretty good tool here. 67% you're talking about Gaussman, and there's a correlation obviously to what's on Scores and Odds and Prize Picks as well. 6.5 is the number for Gaussman on Prize Picks. there is a 67% chance, according to our tool, that it's going to go over that. So you feel pretty good about betting Gausman over. All right. There's also a under on Austin Gomber, under 17.5 outs. 58% of the time that hits, according to the tool.
For what it's worth, a beat reporter did tweet 5 hours ago a different one. Somebody by the name of Charlie Goldsmith, and a lot of like Bengals fans I know follow him. Say right-handed pitcher Ryan Richardson is the Reds' 27th man for today's doubleheader.
Yeah, well, I knew that, but that doesn't necessarily.
Sorry, I read that wrong. It doesn't even say it's starting in there. My bad.
Yeah, but like you presume they call him up for a reason. Yeah, so I assume he's going to be, if not starting, probably in the mix. Looks like Buck Farmer was just called into the game for the Reds, so the Reds bullpen's got to work pretty hard as well. The first half of a doubleheader, Abbott's out after 4, so they're going to throw at least 4, possibly 5 innings. I think Farmer's a guy that can go a couple. But again, this is the bottom of the 5th. It's 4-3, and it's 5:48 on the East Coast. So I would say we're getting these Cincinnati Angels lineups after the first batch of games, and possibly after, I don't know if we're including the Braves as the first batch of games, but I think there's a very real chance we get them after Toronto, Baltimore, after Washington, New York, after LA, Cleveland, and after New York, Atlanta. And the only thing left is Boston, Boston, Houston, 8-10.
I think it's fully possible we don't even get it before that one.
Wow, really? Okay. Wait, you think it's 2.5 hours?
I think it's likely we will, but I think it's possible that we don't. Like that, the Angels and Reds game still is not for 90 minutes after the Boston-Houston game.
Izzy's asking how many of that 70% for Savali was for the Rocks. Those numbers are skewed. I don't understand the question. The game is specifically for the Rocks is the Rockies? It's specifically for this game and this number. I don't understand that question, Izzy. Am I missing something? Does that make sense? What he's asking?
I'm not sure what that means either, but we are over 100 likes on YouTube, and so it's time for Spidey Bomb number 2. And I'll tell you what, I'm feeling good today. We'll give a third Spidey Bomb at 125. I don't even need 150. I want 125. And so, I mean, I'd love 150. Maybe we'll give a fourth one at 150. But third one at 125. Spidey Bomb number 2 today. My favorite odds to hit a home run on the entire slate. Plus 500 on Fanduel. Kyle Tucker in the lefty-lefty matchup. Paxton has been unable to strike out lefties this year. Tucker's only striking out 10% of the time to lefties this year, and he's got a lot of power. So Spidey Bum number 2, Kyle Tucker plus 500 on FanDuel.
I don't understand why the Astros just sort of happened by accident, but it's weird. The Astros have like a bunch of reverse split righties in their pitching rotation, right? That doesn't seem ideal, considering the ballpark they pitch in at home. But Urquidy's throwing baseballs tonight, and I'll take one of the righties facing him.
Shut up, Butthole Jenkins, quick. I said Paxton, but I meant Sale. Yeah,
same thing. Lefty injured, always injured lefty pitching for Boston. That's no longer nearly as good as they used to be. They're both in the same bucket. I'm trying to think which righty power hitter I'm going to take to pick on the old Crawford boxes, but yeah. Let's see. I'm debating between Duvall and Turner, and I don't want to say one of those two, but one of those two is going to go and deposit a ball into the Crawford boxes out there in left field. Let's go with Adam. What's the numbers? Let me ask you this. Pull it up if you don't mind. You probably have that page pulled up.
Yeah.
Give me the difference between Justin Turner and Adam Duvall. What's their current betting line?
Hold on. I want to see if maybe I can even get you something a little bit better, but because Chas McCormick is plus 500, I think he is a great guy batting cleanup to hit a home run today. And then Yainer Diaz batting 5th is let's see what he is. I wanted to check him. It's kind of slow going through this for some reason. Diaz is plus 540, so I really like that one as well. Those three guys I really like to hit home runs all on Houston today. But Justin Turner is
Justin Turner plus 680 on FanDuel is an awesome bet. So we have projections, right? Home run projections as far as what we have, and we're saying the actual number is plus 355. So the difference, you're getting 325 points of betting, value, whatever you want to call it. That is an awesome bet.
That's great.
I would hit that one. I don't know if you have access to the FanDuel Sportsbook. If you do,
I don't.
but
I'm gonna see
that
what
seems like a
Turner is
really
on
good
this
number.
side. I did my like quota today. I'm not planning on placing any more bets, but I'm gonna see what Turner is just to see if I completely botched that one by missing him. Because if this site's anything close to FanDuel's, that's pretty good. But maybe this is finally the case where FanDuel will have better odds than my Saskatchewan site.
Duval, for what it's worth, is at plus 390. And by the way, our actual numbers on Duval, we think it's a 2-1 chance he homers, which that seems kind of crazy. Like I like Duval, but 2-1, but like getting him at almost 4-1 is not bad.
He's plus 450 on this site, and Turner is plus 680 as well here. I'm less mad about not getting it though, because I got Tucker at plus 585, McCormick at plus 655, and Diaz at plus 645.
Turner is the official Dean Dong for what it's worth. We're still on here for the next 20-ish minutes until we yield to crunch time. Crunch time, y'all get the return of Squirrel Patrol, he's much richer. He had himself a good time out there in San Diego. I'm sure he will talk about it. Well, he won't. He's a pretty modest guy. Someone will ask him about it. He's not going to bring it up. Like he's not the kind of guy. Just so y'all know before we get started, and make it rain like Scrooge McDuck or something like that. I don't think he's gonna be doing that, but yeah, awesome time for him out there in San Diego. Just crushed the DK Live final. You get yourself DerekCarty, CEO of the Bat and the Blitz. The Blitz in full effect. It is Blitz season. We're talking about let's see, TJ, 2 weeks, about 15 days until opening season. And with that, we should mention, TJ, 15, 16 days until the start of the NFL season. But according to this read, the NFL is already here. The NFL's here. It's here right now. Yeah, it's here. We're more than ready than ever. Our team of experts and suite of tools, they're good to go here at RG. Let RotoGrinders handle the legwork so you can work less, win more this NFL season. Get access to everything we have to offer at a special discount only available to those without an RG subscription. You can get a full season sub for $50 off at a limited time price, $375. The sale is going to end opening night of the season. Get it while you can. But I should mention also one more thing, FanDuel. The FanDuel single entry series that continues, that rolls on. The $10 variety is currently in the lobby. I do not believe it is sold out just yet. I'm in there, so come get me. And I put up a good score opening night, TJ. I was like 4th or 5th. I don't know where we got last night. Not great. We might have been cast or something, but you just need 4. You just need 4 big scores to have yourself a chance. Give me the summary, TJ. I just walked in the door. I just turned on the show. What do I need to know as far as pitchers? Summarize the pitchers for me when it comes to tonight's slates.
Most important thing you need to know is that we are 24 likes away from the 4th Spidey Bomb, and we are at enough likes to get the 3rd Spidey Bomb. And so Spidey Bomb number 3 plus 480 on FanDuel. Get the Homer trolls ready in chat. Dalton Varsho is Spidey Bomb number 3 plus 480 on FanDuel. The summary of the slate today at pitching, I'm going heavily overweight on Kevin Gausman. He's my highest owned pitcher. I got 55% today. I'm fading the other expensive pitcher, Clayton Kershaw, and trying to get a lot of these cheapies. And so I'm getting to a lot of Detmers, a little bit of Severino, a little bit of Urquidy, Kramer, Gore, Lyon Richardson. I like all of these guys. I'm going to play all of these guys. And then I am getting to a little bit of Charlie Morton as well. From a stack standpoint, even though I like Gore and even though I like Severino, Washington is my highest owned stack today. The Yankees are number 2. Houston is probably my individual raw points favorite stack for tournaments. And then I really like getting to Toronto, Atlanta, and the Dodgers as well. The last 4 teams I'm getting to, but not to the same amount as the others, are the Mets, the Angels, the Red Sox, and Cincinnati.
I didn't set you up with stacks. That was the next segment.
That was the pitching summary. Sorry, I thought I got carried away. I thought that was just. I'm thinking, FanDuel locks in 40 minutes. The crunch time guys are probably coming here soon. I thought that was the whole summary.
I've announced the crunch time is not being moved. It's not changing, right? I was thinking that too. I thought maybe crunch time would knock on the door around 6 o'clock or so. No, it's only it's a small slate. They have plenty of time, and if they have to, they'll stick around after crunch time. Well, after the 6:40. And they'll extend it for DK, but it's not a 13 gamer, it's a 6 gamer, so they're coming on their normal time. You still have 15 more minutes to go, TJ. Hopefully you can power through. And yeah, I will consult. I will reference our stacks. Myself, Squirrel was going to be on it a bit. Tim Tasteful Tides, who's hanging out in chat, and he wants to know my best ball takes. I feel like he's trolling me. He always trolls me about my season-long. If the only thing that Tim actually likes, the only thing he thinks is actually fun is best ball, I would fall off this chair.
I love best ball so much. It's so enjoyable. I just love sitting and drafting.
I have had a great time. I always goof on the best ball bros, and they're so funny. And RIP the Corey Davis thing. Corey Davis, I hope he's fine. I hope he's just retiring because like he's just had enough of football. But I don't know if you saw it, but he retired. I don't know how much shares I have, but I think I at least have a pinch of Corey Davis as like a last round flyer.
I know Corey Davis, but I did not realize that he retired. I posted my my exposures in the NFL Discord chat today, and
I'll do that as well.
My highest QBs, RBs, tight ends, and receivers. And so, without looking, who is my highest owned quarterback?
I mean, I think it's Carr.
It is, unfortunately. I didn't want it to be. My number two, my second, third, fourth, fifth guys are the guys I like the best. It's Herbert, it's Sam Howell, it's Anthony Richardson, it's Lamar Jackson, it's Justin.
Those are all my guys
who I have next. And so I like all of those guys, but Carr, just like the amount of times I've just been like, third round, Chris Olave, sure. 11th round, Michael Thomas, sure. And then I just go, okay, I guess I might as well go Carr too. But then running backs, it's number one, Alvin Kamara, and number two, Jamal Williams.
Yeah.
Followed by Spears, James Cook, and Tank Bigsby. Receivers, it's Kadarius Toney 1, Khalil Shakur 2, Richie James 3, Mike Thomas 4, Shaheed 5. And then tight ends is Taysom Hill 1, Isaiah Likely 2, Okongwu, Cole Turner, Irv Smith, Juwan Johnson.
It's funny you have Taysom first. I love Juwan Johnson. You mentioned him as well, but I have him well ahead of Taysom, but the people don't want to hear too much as far as
Taysom's getting drafted 30 picks behind Juwan Johnson right now, though.
Yeah. Daryl's asking, does RG have a special offer for college football and the NHL? So don't quote me, and maybe producer Steve or producer Devin or somebody can drop something there, but I think, the all-encompassing, like all the sports, I think it's all kind of under one banner. I'm not sure if you can buy college football a la carte. I'm not sure if you can buy NHL a la carte or put them together. I can't speak to that, but I don't know how that works if you just want those two and nothing else. But hopefully somebody can assist you with that. Yeah, and you mentioned How's my number. I have him like in 40% of my lineups because I keep getting him in like the 15th, 16th round as well. I'll draft a stud quarterback, and How's like my second quarterback, and that's that. And I've been pairing him a lot with Samuel too.
I keep getting a ton of Terry McLaurin, and so it's like if you get close to back-to-back picks way later on, you just can get that Howell and Curtis Samuel. It just fits it so well. The chat's turning on me today, though. TJ's shoving Blue Jays down our throat.
The propaganda coming from you, yeah.
What was this other one here? I said Paxton instead of Sale or something like that. Or no, I gave my stack summary early, and people say that's why Dean's the host, as if you haven't muted yourself 2 times today.
That was an hour ago. Like we forgot about that already.
This slack, and I'm getting the attacks.
You're only as good as your last take. You're only as good as your last sentence. You know how this works. By the way, we should mention, and then we'll talk about the stacks in a second, but specific to FanDuel, I see Flying Armbars asking about it. Tampa. We should acknowledge the existence of Tampa, like the offense for Colorado. They're going to be out there as well. And I suppose in such a small slate, and some always going to be popular. I guess you can roster yourself some Rockies. But how do you feel about Tampa on FanDuel only? They have a total above 5. Diaz, Arenado, Arozarena, Ramirez, Paredes, Lau, Mead, Siri, Lau, and then Betancourt. Your thoughts as far as the Rays FanDuel specific?
I don't mind them. I really like Jose Siri. I don't mind doing a mini stack of like Paredes and Ramirez and Siri quite a bit. I don't know if I'd get to them in a full stack, but like Gomber is pretty bad, so you absolutely can play them. But Siri is my favorite, followed by Paredes and Ramirez.
By the way, Daryl's asking about that hockey information. I'm pretty sure Tim contributes to the hockey. He's one of the big contributors. So, yeah, if you think Tasteful Ties, you like his takes when it comes to baseball and takes when it comes to football, he's all over the hockey as well. I assume he's at least last year he was one of the main hockey guys. Always touting against my Panthers, which I kind of begrudge him for that. But he is very sharp when it comes to hockey. All right. Consensus-wise, no surprise. It's Atlanta and the Dodgers. They're 1-2. Atlanta is a little bit higher when it comes to the average, 1.25. Only one person, Tim that is, has Atlanta second, the Dodgers number 1, Yankees third, Tampa fourth, Mets fifth, Toronto. And I was the only person to rank Washington, which, again, I just think that Severino has been one of the worst pitchers in all of baseball. And I know Washington's not great, but
yeah, they're one for me.
Okay, yeah. So I'm look. I don't. I'm not saying you're supposed to rank Washington, but I want to attack Severino. You're locked in for 9. Pretty good ballpark. I like shortstop's not the best position, so I have a ton of Abrams. Lane Thomas on Fanduel's got a really good price. He's kind of an overspend. The DK prices for some of these Washington guys, and you're playing on DK, are kind of goofy. Meneses, I believe, is 5K. Yeah, he's 5K on the nose. I like Ruiz as a catcher. It's an interesting predicament as far as Meneses versus Dom Smith because, the first base position, he's so much cheaper, Dom Smith, that is. Stone Garrett, no longer like Stone minimum, but he's 3.7, and he's got plenty of power. There is some pinch hit risk there depending on at times, but he's got a fair bit of power. Alu's cheap. Yeah. So, I like that they're your number 1. Furthermore, speak to that. Is that just more or less a bet against Severino and also ownership? Because it's going to be really, really congested on Atlanta and the Dodgers for good reasons.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the reasons why I like Atlanta and the Dodgers, but they're like my 5th and 6th highest owned stacks today, just because the Nats, the Yankees, the Astros, and the Blue Jays, I think, have a pretty strong chance of matching them today. So I'm trying to go overweight there.
All right. Any other thoughts when it comes to stacks in general, or shall we just yield to the chat? I know I kind of set you up before the show started. Producer Devin had an idea. He wanted to play a game called 2 Yeses and 1 No. And I believe you have an example set up. So basically, we're going to imagine a lineup that has 2 things we expect to happen that do, in fact, happen. Then imagine a third thing that doesn't go as planned and build a lineup with that third negative element in mind. Have you thought up of an example that could play out such a thought?
I thought you were thinking up an example, and then I was going to go after you.
No. Wait, hold on. You said,
I said, yeah, I can think something up, but I thought I didn't know this was a just me thing. I thought I was going to get more context after you went.
TJ, who is the host and who is the analyst? I am the host. The host asked the question. We just discussed this.
Yeah. Do you not play the game when we do the feud?
I can pick and choose. The host, as host, I'm
as host. You should have done a better job of communicating. You wouldn't be participating.
I thought it was pretty well laid out. That what I was saying is you come up with an example, and then we'll retort. We'll kind of bounce back and forth. Unbelievable. Yeah, we fumbled the ball on this one for sure. I did want to say, this is not exactly the game, not exactly the setup, but I thought it was an interesting thought process. So a lot of people think in a binary of and this is also under the context that I thought Severino was going to be really chalky. He's not going to be really chalky. He's going to be owned, but not really chalky. But a lot of people will say, well, I'm going to take the stand and I'm not going to play Severino and I'm going to load up Washington against them. And that's kind of hashtag leverage. But the thing that a lot of people forget is the middle, right? The most likely outcome probably is that Severino is not great. He's not terrible. He's pretty meh. Maybe he puts up 10 points. And the most likely scenario is that the Washington Nationals, maybe they get 3 runs in 5 innings off of Severino, and there's no homers. Maybe there's one, maybe there's a solo job, but the point is it's not either Severino's great or the Nationals smash him, but there's so much wiggle room in the middle that neither could be great. There's a scenario where Severino is not necessary and Washington's not necessary. You don't have to decide. It's not binary. Washington's going to go off, Severino's going to go off. It doesn't work that way. It certainly can. There are outliers, right? So I just think it's an interesting thought where understand that both can be meh or even bad, right? And how did Washington score their runs? They score 4 or 5 runs off Severino via walks and singles and sack flies. Who cares? You don't need the Nationals and you didn't need Severino. And it's just, I'm sure you've heard people speak. We're well, it's either this is going to happen or that's going to happen. And there's a ton of wiggle room in the middle, which is kind of the most likely scenario, but we're looking at a result of 1. So, I'm curious what your thoughts are as far as that. If you want to retort to that thought process, by all means. But yeah, what say you when it comes to that? Because you're loading up on Washington, and maybe neither get there.
When playing DFS in baseball, what you think is going to happen is almost always not the most likely outcome. And so we're not really as concerned with like the middle projections. It's just kind of like you're going to lose on those days. But I agree, that probably is the most likely type of thing happening. But I got 25% Severino today, and I have Washington as my highest owned stack. So I'm definitely hoping that it's somewhere in one of the extremes today. It's going to be one high owned, one not so high owned. I'm just going to keep talking until Dean comes back because I don't know exactly where he is. Maybe it's just his video. Dean, are you here?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can't see you, but can hear you.
I'm working on it. My camera, my setup just gave out on me for some reason. The connection to my Mac, it's like loose or something that like every once in a while, my side monitor will give out and then kind of dies and it all comes on my main screen. And that somehow kills my video feed. So I'm in the process of trying to get it back up. So my apologies for whatever's going on over here. We're going to power on through for the next 6 minutes. But yeah, I didn't hear your answer, but I'm sure it was a sharp answer. I couldn't hear it because my audio also died. But that kind of keeps the theme of the show because there was a moment earlier where I was caught not listening. I did fess up. Man at my word. But all right, let's see. What do we have as far as going on in the chat? How many likes for TJ to go get his cat? Wasn't your cat on screen before? Or was that your dog? That was your dog.
That was my
right?
dog. That was Obi here with me. 14 more likes for Spidey Bomb number 4. I'll go find Shadow if we get up to 200, which shouldn't be that hard because there's almost 450 people watching today.
All right. And where are we at as far as the Spidey Bombs and the Dongs? Where are we at as far as likes? You just said 125 we're looking for, or 150? I apologize again.
150 for Spidey Bomb number 4.
Okay, so I have to have a dong on layaway. Wait, I got to release a third. I only have 2.
You do, yeah. You only got 2 dongs lurking right now. You need at least 3 dongs to match me.
So yeah, I'm going to bring Adam Duvall back into the conversation. I was saying one of those 2 is going to take Urquidy Yard. When it comes from a betting perspective, we were talking about, I'm not really sure the number is at now, but earlier we saw Justin Turner was like plus 650 or plus 680. Seemed really, really positive picking on the Crawford boxes versus the old reverse splitsy Jose Urquidy. So I got Urquidy, Duvall, and Lane Thomas as the dongs. And if one more comes out, we hit 150. I'm happy to unleash one more. I'm countering every one of the Spidey Bombs. Got to keep up with Spidey and TJ. Let's see. Is the bat refusing to project a catcher for the night game for the Angels tonight? So that's interesting. We were talking about projecting the Angels and the Reds lineup, right? And that lineup probably doesn't come out until after 7 o'clock, or at least after the first maybe 3 or 4 games. And that's important because Logan O'Hoppe is catching the first game. So that means he's like, I don't want to say definitely, but very, very, very unlikely to catch the second game. Like almost definitely.
It's just like a little glitch that'll be fixed quick because it has been Matt Theis who's been projected all day, and then now that projection is just gone. So but he's still projected to bat 5th. That hasn't changed. And so I'm assuming that's just been a little glitch that'll be fixed soon.
For what it's worth, we are projecting Chanel, Trout, Moustakas, Drury, Theis, Renfroe, Moniak, Rengifo, and Escobar in that lineup. And if you're not aware, the RotoGrinders lineup projection team, this isn't just some like automated thing. They actually like think about like what the most likely scenario is. And many times they will hit it, and not just hit it as far as the guys that are in the lineup in the exact order. Some teams are more predictable than others. But God, who was it I was listening to? I think it was like the Cubs. It might have been the Cubs where like they only repeated their lineup like 4 times all season, which is just insane. It's always shuffling up. I think it was the Cubbies. And like the Braves, like they have several players that have played every single game this year. I think Matt Olson's one of them, and maybe not Duvall. The third baseman, his name also starts with it. Austin Riley. Jeez, I was way off. Samsonite. But I think both those guys have played every single game this season. Brian's asking about weather concerns for the Dodgers and the Guardians. Well, you know what? Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth is going to be on just a few minutes to let you know what's going on. But at least earlier in the day, I didn't see anything to be terribly concerned with. Has anything changed? It's green, yellow. And again, Roth will give you the verbal update shortly. I'll go ahead and drop this weather report in chat. What else is going on in chat? Have I missed anything? Have I missed any questions? Are there any questions?
Likes, and so it's time for the next Spidey Bomb and Dean Dong. Should I go with a homer play, or should I go with a play that's only on one of the two slates?
Well, you're gonna pick one of the Rays, aren't you?
Maybe.
Yeah, give the people a Ray. It's probably like Harold Ramirez. He probably has pretty good odds.
Spidey Bomb number 4 today is Jose Siri, plus 460 on FanDuel.
Okay. Yeah, and it's I like the Angels lineup, whatever it's going to be, but it's probably going to be without Ohtani. Yeah, it's hard to say, but there's got to be an advantage. Like 750. Say it again.
Harold Ramirez is plus 750.
That's not bad. I think I wouldn't besmirch. Plus 750 Harold Ramirez against Austin Comber. I think that's pretty solid. But like you're thinking like people that are making lineups and people that have lives and children and wives and husbands and things like that, they probably want to be done and not babysit their lineups. Are we going to see a decrease in ownership overall when it comes to the Angels and the Reds, just like with the lineups not being out? Are people just going to guess who's in there? What do you suspect is going to – maybe they don't have the RG notifications, right, the alerts, so they know when the lineup comes out. But it does seem like a really good chance. Yeah, we're not getting those lineups in 45 minutes because we're in the top of the 7th. Cincinnati's up 4-3, a couple guys on, so pretty good chance we're going to see the game extend to the bottom of the 9th. We might have extra innings, which would be the ultimate disaster if this game goes like 12 or 13 innings. A lot of fun for sure. If you like chaos, that's certainly what you're rooting for. But just like, how are you handling that? And I'm sure you're running a bunch of lineups. You got to be on top of this. Do you have a contingency plan in case some of your guys are not in the lineup? You'll have the Red Sox and the Astros most likely to pivot to, but if you have just like one-offs in that game, it could be troublesome potentially. If you have salary.
I don't.
Okay.
I have no one-offs in that game. I only have stacks. Actually, looking at it right now, I did have Mike Moustakas and Nolan Schanuel as potential one-offs, but those were the only guys in there.
All right. Should I have tried to put my my camera on, because again it's still kind of goofy. We're going to be stepping aside here in a minute anyway, so I guess we're stuck. We're committed to the bit.
Need bigger so that the people can see a lot of me anyway.
Well, you are the star of the show, despite not being the host. You're the analyst. That's why like when prompted a question, like a deep thought question, you're supposed to answer those, but you sort of just flat out passed earlier.
Well, I assumed there was more context coming with that one. Like I thought there was going to be more give and take. I didn't know I was running the whole thing. If I had more of a grasp of what we were supposed to be doing, I definitely would have got it for you. But I kind of thought since you were introducing a new segment that you'd kind of be beginning the segment and providing me a little bit more info for it. So we live and we learn. But
I could have completely blindsided you and not even like give you the heads up pre-show like we're doing this. I gave you the courtesy,
but like I just thought I wouldn't be doing it alone.
It's a group effort. Yeah, it's a group project. I just saw somebody asking about the Houston bullpen. They want to know how many lefties are in that bullpen there. I see none. I see 0 lefties in that Houston bullpen. So that's interesting. It's going to be all righties coming out of that bullpen. So all righties throughout the night for Houston. Unless I'm missing something.
What about Matt Gage and Parker Mashinsky?
I don't think they're on the current roster, according to the roster resource from Fangraphs.
There you go. I'm just looking at Plate IQ.
Oh, you're just making up people?
How is looking at Plate IQ making up people? How could you possibly get that out of what I said?
I mean, you're just trying to muddy the waters. Let's say that. Stir the pots.
I was just looking at the people we have listed on our main tool that I utilize every day.
Yeah. I think this is updated like daily. I'm pretty sure. So again, don't hold me to it, but I'm fairly certain. If there's one random lefty that's available, I suppose that's possible. They only have one lefty in the entire rotation and their bullpen. That's Framber Valdez, who, by the way, gets very upset when he has a bout outing. He just like throws at people. That's a solution. It's an interesting way to deal with it. Matthew's talking about the weather in Cleveland. Has it turned? We are going to have Roth
let's
jump.
ask Roth right here because his camera is actually working.
Okay. I'm glad he's here because I was just going to say, TJ, let me know. Play the role of host because I do not have the video feed up right now. So I'm glad that I know that Roth is here. What's up, Roth? I assume Squirrel is there, and I assume DerekCarty with maybe one or two buttons unbuttoned. I can't confirm or deny. Again, I did not see the video.
You were 2 or 3. What's up, boys? Carty is still unbuttoning. He's not quite here yet. He's still getting prepped. But we do have Squirrel. We got to give a big round of applause to Squirrel. Took down second place in the last. That's amazing. I don't know how you did that. Incredible. Good job. You took down second in the live final.
I did, yeah. It was amazing. It was completely surreal because the hurricane was actually like bearing down on the like conference room at the resort, like as the live final was going on. Like it started raining, and so I'd like check the scoreboard to see like was I still winning $1 million or whatever, and then I dropped down to like 600,000. And then like run outside to see like is the hotel flooded? Like do we have to swim out of the conference room or anything?
Right.
So yeah, so wild, surreal night.
Very nice. Congratulations. That is amazing. Second place. You said what? 600 grand? 600 grand?
Yeah, 600 just for that lineup. Yeah.
Woo! Buddy, that is fantastic. I also saw someone because RotoGrinders like gave you the kudos tweet or whatever, and I saw someone go, "What a crappy lineup." You won 600 grand with it, and people are saying it was crappy. It made me just typical stuff.
Squirrel, is it worth the $600,000 to have the insult from like Joey bunch of numbers? Is it a fair? Is that a fair give and take?
Yeah, that was fine. I've been listening to the show the whole time since 5, and like I didn't realize like Dean turned into like a vibrating disc on our display. Like,
is that what you're saying?
That is, yeah, pretty awkward.
I just waved to the camera and I realized nobody sees it. I don't know why I did that, but I was waving. Is TJ still here? Is it awkward now? Should I be kicked out at some point?
Yeah,
I am still here, and yes, you should have been kicked out. Both things are accurate.
Yeah.
So, Roth, 2 things. We have to get you on Team Best Ball. I saw you tweeting about it last night.
Yeah.
Very, very excited to welcome you in on, not just because you're a fish, most likely, but we'll get you hooked up with some. I'm speaking on behalf of like Bind 4 and the Spike Week team, but I'm sure they can hook you up with some content over there. And weather, apparently, at least according to the chat, I don't know if we have to get to it immediately when it comes to the Cleveland Dodger game. They're saying it's an issue. I'm curious what you're going to say, but we'll yield. TJ, got anything else before we step aside and get out of here? There is a FanDuel slate that's just starting 20 minutes, so probably should step aside.
No, let's get out of here. I want to hear Roth talk about Cleveland.
All right, that was TJ. I was Dean. It's the FanDuel sponsored Crunch Time. It starts now. You got Roth. Go for it.
Let's do it. Hey, welcome to it, ladies and gents. As Dean mentioned, this is, or as that floating vibrating disc mentioned, it is indeed Crunch Time, sponsored by FanDuel. To the sharpest minds in the biz, one, Mr. DerekCarty. What up, Carty?
Not much. How's it going?
Not great. Today's been my worst weather day of the year. If you're just going by my accuracy, this is a horrible call earlier. These storms just overperformed in Cleveland, and then they made their way down to Pittsburgh. And now I'm about to go 0 for 2, although I'm changing things because the storms are overperforming in the same area. It's just models are doing a shit job trying to handle what's happening over here. And it's basically going to burn me twice today, but that's fine. We'll get to that in a bit. We got Squirrel as well. Someone says, Squirrel looks like he's got a fresh $600,000 haircut.
It is, yeah. Like Wednesday is like clippers and shaving day. And then just don't worry about it the rest of the week.
That's good.
Wednesday,
do you go to a place to get that done?
No. Yeah, got to save money for that.
That's right. It's 600 grand, but he's still the same OG. We love that. All right, so let me dive into what's happening in Cleveland. As of basically all day, there were going to be storms east of Cleveland, and they were going to hold just east of Cleveland, and it was going to be kind of dicey, but okay. And now that storm line is just moving that little bit farther west. That is that thin line between scary but fine and absolutely not fine. And I am much more leaning towards it being not fine now. If you want to take a stab at this in a GPP, Squirrel, if you got 150 entries and you want to throw 5 in, that's cool. But if this is the crux of your lineup and your build, then you got to reevaluate some stuff.
I think the Dodgers are going to be one of the more popular stacks. Yeah. Maybe probably the most popular.
Great. I would probably go underweight on that. Now, I don't know what the situation is as far as do the Dodgers come back? What are the off days? So I need to try to figure that out right now. But I think I've got the game as orange. I think there is a high likelihood of a delay, and there is a chance that the game does not get finished. And there's a chance. Yeah, go for it.
We do lock at 6:40, so there's 17 minutes, but that game does not start at all until 7:10.
Yeah.
And so that gives us some time to hear if there's
it looks like Cleveland and the Dodgers play tomorrow in an afternoon game, which would make kind of a doubleheader a little tough because I'm sure they're planning on, I would assume they're planning on bouncing after that. It's the only trip to Cleveland. It's a risky game, and I would not play pitchers, and even hitters are dicey. Like, I do not love it, and I wish it wasn't going to be one of the highest owned stacks because I wish it was just a game where we could be like, all right, we don't need it, we don't want it. If you feel you need it and you want it and you want some exposure, that's okay. I still would not put it in my cash game. I think it's a dicey play. That's where I'm at right now. That's all I've got right now. We've got lock coming up here relatively soon. So if you have more questions, feel free to fire it out to me, but that's all I really know as of now. Let's talk about some of the pitchers. What are we going to do? Carty, you want to lead us off?
Yeah. Sorry, it's just been a frustrating day. Ohtani and doubleheaders do not mix technology-wise. Like, it should be outlawed.
Everything.
We should never allow it.
Yeah. The whole Ohtani thing is such a shit show every time.
Actually, when Dean mentioned that, is it worth $600,000 to deal with insults or whatever? That slate had a second game of a doubleheader. It drives me berserk. I put it on Twitter today. Second game of doubleheader. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
You're fine.
Everything goes haywire.
Yeah. All right, Carty, is the bat surviving? Is everything melting down?
For now, it's fine. And then I'm tilted over bets also. Kevin Pillar has not hit higher than 7th in the Atlanta order all freaking year. We get plus 220 for under a hit today. He has a high pinch hit risk. It's a great bet. And then randomly he's hitting 2nd for the first time in his life. What the hell is going on right now?
It's a tough day. Nobody's doing well today, but we got to help the people. I'm tilting, you're tilting. Squirrel's not. He's rich. But we got to help the people out. We got to get them squirrel money. So, Carty, what are we doing at pitcher?
Yeah, so pitcher in that annoying LA-Cincinnati game, we have Reed Detmers, who's the top pitcher on the slate. He's 7 points. What's up?
Is it Cincinnati?
Yeah.
You said Cincinnati. Is it Cincinnati?
It's in LA, though, right?
That game's annoying not because of the weather, but because it's the second game of a doubleheader.
I'm sorry. I got confused. I thought you were talking about the weather game. Continue. My bad.
No. It's annoying because it's causing technological issues. But
yeah.
Reed Detmers is the top guy on the slate. He's 7.6K. He's facing a Cincinnati offense that is not that good, is kind of watered down in the second game here, is extremely strikeout heavy. He's really cheap. And so he's definitely your guy on DraftKings. On FanDuel, that game is not on the slate. And so you have to find somebody else. You have Kevin Gausman, you have Charlie Morton, you have Kershaw, you have Aaron Savali. But the bat wants to jam Luis Severino down your throat. So I guess I'm about to give a Luis Severino pitch.
Let's hear it.
Luis Severino has been terrible this year. He's also been unlucky. He has a 355 BABIP. He has a 22% home run per fly ball. He has a 62% left on base percentage. He's been bad, but he's not 8 ERA bad. He's like high 4, low 5 ERA bad, which against the Washington Nationals, for 6.6K on a slate where none of these other guys are really in great spots, I guess you make a case for Luis Severino. Certainly in tournaments, he doesn't feel comfortable. But the discount you're getting on him, I really do think makes him a worthy consideration. Over on DraftKings, I mean, at 5.4K, like that's the price you get for 200 less. It's Xavier Curry, who's like, wasn't even a real starter until a few starts ago, and he's bad, and he only goes 70 pitches. And like, that's the price range that Severino is in right now. And maybe he gets shelled and you wind up with minus 15, but like, odds are he's not going to keep doing that. He's going to wind up being at least okay, and he's really cheap. And so that's my Luis Severino pitch. You could tell how impassioned I feel about it. I hate telling people to do that.
You got cheapies on DK. Is the move like one up, one down for DK?
I mean, you can definitely just do Detmer Severino. If you don't want to do Severino, which I don't blame you, you can try to pay up for Gaussman. I don't love trying to pay up for Morton. I definitely don't want to pay up for Kershaw. He's definitely not stretched out yet. The ceiling's going to be low on him. Jose Urquidy at 6'3" is interesting price-wise, but another guy who's not really stretched. You're not going to get like a massive ceiling on him. And it's a small slate. So I don't know what else you're really doing other than Detmers and pay up for a guy like Gaussman, unless you just say, screw it, I'm going to play Luis Severino.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. All right. Well, let's kick it over to Squirrel here. What is your approach pitcher-wise?
Yeah, so just a little bit of slate context. So some of the confusion there came from the difference in the slates between Fanduel and DraftKings. Mm-hmm. So Fanduel is starting at 640. So they was Colorado and Tampa Bay on their slate. That game is not on DraftKings slate. But what DraftKings did, which I never like, is they put the second game of a doubleheader on their slate. So it's Cincinnati and the Angels. And like that game just started like an hour ago, about an hour and a half ago, game one. Like, we're not going to have those lineups by lock. Like, we're probably not going to have them pretty well into the slate. So that's where part of the confusion is coming from. And there's actually like kind of appealing players in both the games that are not on the other slate.
Okay. Fair enough.
So at pitcher, I actually do like Luis Severino. He's one of the guys I wrote up. And it really is. It comes down to price. And I kind of taking a lot of Severino at the expense of Mackenzie Gore, I think. Mackenzie Gore has gotten some popularity. Last week, I was really high on Mackenzie Gore. He was really low owned. Nobody liked him, but he was in Nationals Park, against the Red Sox, I think. And he left that start with a blister. Like, I'm not on him this week because he's in Yankee Stadium, and he's like facing like Aaron Judge. He left his last start with a blister, and now he's going to be more popular. And he's $1,500, $2,000 more expensive than he was last week. Severino is just dirt cheap. Like, he does not have to do much to pay off his price, and there's not a lot of options. There's only 6 games on each slate. So I do think Severino makes some sense, like especially on DraftKings where you have to pick 2 pitchers, and he's like $5,400, I think. Let me double check the price. Yeah, $5,400. So like if he was a no-name pitcher who was like $5,400, we're like, oh, this guy like didn't have any good track record of success in the minors, but he's just starting this game. He's fully stretched out, and he's $5,400. I think people, be running to play him. It's just that he used to be like much better. So we have these high expectations of him. We see his name, and we think of this guy as like priced at $9,000, but he's not priced at that anymore. He like doesn't have to do much. Like, we don't want him to get blown up. Like, any pitcher can kind of get blown up usually. So that's my Severino pitch.
Okay, that's fair.
I like that pitch. That's a really good way to frame it. Like, if this was some random guy who just got called up from the minors and we're like, well, he's pretty bad, but he's cheap and he's in a great spot, people be like, oh yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And where else are you looking other than Severino?
So I think Reed Detmers on DraftKings. He's only 7,600, pretty high upside. But he's like a DraftKings special because he's not on the FanDuel slate. And then, like, on the flip side, Aaron Savale on the FanDuel slate is not on the DraftKings slate. Then Kevin Gaussman is also one of the pitchers I like, but he's I think the most expensive pitcher on both slates. So that makes me like him a little bit less.
Okay, fair enough. Let me give you guys more of an official weather take here in Cleveland, other than like I don't know, it looks worse than it was supposed to. I've had a little bit of time to digest things and what I would guess as the most likely outcome, and guess really is the right word here, would be middle of the game, some sort of delay, maybe fourth, fifth, sixth inning or so, and the game not finishing. That would be like my best guess as an outcome there. But I will say the range of outcomes is pretty freaking wide, and my overall confidence in it is lower than it normally is on these. So that's where I stand on kind of my expectations. We got to talk about some of the bats. We got lock coming up really soon, so let's go ahead and talk favorite stacks. Squirrel, lead us off. And I did,
Sure.
I did forget to mention here, the show, by the way, is sponsored by Fanduel. I'll get to your Fanduel read in just a minute, but in the meantime, what are your stacks, Squirrel?
So I think the two favorite stacks were going to be the Braves and the Dodgers, but this kind of takes some of the air out of the Dodgers. And I was going to go maybe a little bit underweight on the Braves and having some of that go to the Dodgers, and I will probably go back to having more Braves. But those are like the two, I think, highest implied run totals. Two teams that I like under that are probably not going to be as highly owned, but I'll probably try to own them as much as any other team, is the Yankees and the Mets, the two New York teams. The Yankees are back in Yankee Stadium. They're playing Mackenzie Gore. I think Gore is going to be a little bit too popular. And the Mets have been going berserk lately. Like nobody's really noticed, but like there's hitting home runs all over the place. Like Francisco Lindor is constantly getting on base. Brandon Nimmo is setting the table as well. And then like Vogelbach and Alonso are hitting home runs. I don't think any player in Major League Baseball has as many home runs over the last 30 days as Pete Alonso. So that's somebody to think of for your crowded first base position.
Yeah. All right. Carty, what are you doing here stack wise?
Yeah, the Braves are the top stack. They're going to be pretty popular. The Dodgers, I agree, are also going to be really good. I like the Yankees a lot for what their price tag is here. It's the kind of slate, though, where I think just about every team is viable except for like Cleveland and maybe the Nationals. They don't project that well. So depending on what you think about Luis Severino, but every other stack you can do. Like you can play a Baltimore stack against Kevin Gausman and get a little bit of leverage. But the teams that I like the most, I like the Yankees. I like the Braves. And I like the Angels quite a bit tonight, especially if Ohtani's not in the lineup, especially if we don't get a lineup before lock. I think people are going to kind of forget about the Angels. And I don't think it's a good spot for them.
I actually want to jump in and say I literally just forgot about the Angels again because I was like looking at my FanDuel tab and that's that game that's not on the FanDuel slate, but it is on the DraftKings slate.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Let's go around the horn real fast. I suppose we're coming up on the FanDuel lock, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So let me hit this real fast. Sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state. Take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers bet $5, get 200 bonus bets, and $100 off your NFL Sunday ticket. Terms and conditions do apply. I think with lock on FanDuel being 4 minutes out, we just kind of focus on DK as we go around the horn. Does that work for y'all? Yeah.
It's cool with
Okay.
me.
Carty, what do we do in a catcher?
I'm still trying to get this stupid doubleheader stuff going. At catcher, we have expensive guys. We have Will Smith. We have Sean Murphy in those Dodgers, Atlantas. That's going to be popular, and they're great. But Logan O'Hoppe is back now for the Angels, assuming he's in the lineup, which actually that's part of the issue here. I'm having lineup issues. Did he play the first game? Does anyone know offhand? Because he's a catcher. If he played the first, he's not going to play the second.
I think he did because they were talking about him a lot on the morning show.
Okay, so then not Logan O'Hoppe. So then you're probably going down and you're looking at like in the mid-range, you have guys like Francisco Alvarez, you have Yainer Diaz, you have Keibert Ruiz, who are all fine. If you want to punt it, though, and you want to play Kyle Higashioka for the Yankees for 2-4, I'm fine with that. And then you can spend on the expensive Atlanta bats at other positions.
Yeah. All right. Squirrel?
Yeah, like Sean Murphy, Adley Rutschman, Yainer Diaz, Francisco Alvarez.
Okay. First base.
So first base, Matt Olson, I think is going to be the top projected. I do like Pete Alonso right there beneath him again, like nobody like Olsen has the most home runs I think in the National League this year. Alonso has the most home runs over the last 30 days of everybody in baseball. Vlad Guerrero, I think Toronto is going to be a little bit underowned, so Guerrero I think is a good play. Then Yandy Diaz on FanDuel in that Tampa Bay game that's not on DraftKings.
Okay. First base, Carty.
Sorry, I cannot get this doubleheader stuff going. Yeah, Alonso, Freeman, Olsen, Vlad, they're kind of your top tier. I think you can try to get up to Freeman if you want. Alonso maybe is the most accessible of those ones. In the mid-range, you have Brandon Belt, who I think is in a good spot. Moustakas, assuming he's in the LA lineup, is 3-1, and he's in a really good spot. And then we have DJ LeMahieu leading off for the Yankees tonight for 3-1 on DraftKings with platoon advantage against Gore. So I think he's going to be a really strong play. Over on FanDuel, though, I don't think you have to mess with guys like that. I think you just play one of Freeman, Alonso, Vlad. You can do Olsen, but at that same price point, I'd rather just have Freeman. So I think you're picking one of them.
Okay. How about second base?
Mookie's going to be our top guy, but again, not always a guy that you have to find a way to get up to, especially because we do generally have some cheaper, viable second basemen. The second best on the slate is Gleyber Torres. He's in this Yankees lineup. He's hitting third. He's got the platoon against Gore. He's 3K on FanDuel. He's 4-1 on DraftKings. So I think he's probably your cash guy. On DK, you can make the case for Brandon Drury, assuming he's in the LA lineup. Certainly as a one-off in GPP, certainly in those LA stacks. He's going to be a really good value play.
Okay. Squirrel, what do you do in a second?
So playing a lot of Jose Altuve and Gleyber Torres, just because, I like Altuve always leading off for the Astros, and then I like the Yankees stack tonight. I'm going to skip over a lot of the Dodgers guys just because we're uncertain on that game with the weather situation. Yeah. And that really does take us down to 5 games on each slate. So there's kind of running out of people, but then Trevor Story probably is the best value guy at 2,800 or Oswald Peraza with the Yankees.
Yeah. Carty, were you in agreement with Story there? Was that? Or were you just
sorry? I wasn't listening. I'm still dealing with tech issues. I'm really sorry.
Tilting his face off. He's literally muttering to himself angrily. I thought you were contributing, but no, you were just cursing and being angry.
Cursing at the computer, cursing at the baseball gods for lining up the Angels on a doubleheader.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. All right, I thought we had. Okay. All right, Squirrel. I think you're maybe a third. I don't know. I've lost track now. I'm completely lost.
Yeah, I think I'm on third. So Austin Riley's my top projected guys with the Braves. So I'm going to be getting a lot of Atlanta. Like taking down my Dodgers exposure, I'm getting a ton of Atlanta. They're expensive, but something to note, especially on FanDuel, there's not a lot of really expensive pitchers that I like. So I don't like the 2 most expensive pitchers are Gausman, Charlie Morton. I think I'm underweight both of them. So I'm able to spend up then like Rafi Devers, Yandy Diaz, and then Justin Turner as well.
Okay. Carty, what are you doing at third?
Muncy is a guy that I think is fairly accessible. He's a high-end guy like Austin Riley, but he's like 1,000 cheaper on DraftKings. So I think it makes a lot of sense to get up to Muncy. On FanDuel, where the price gap is significantly smaller, I think you can very easily just find the extra 300, get up to Riley, and he's great. But you can play Muncy too. If you want to go cheaper, Chris Taylor in the Dodgers lineup for 2.6 on FanDuel is good. Moustakas for 3.1 on DK is good. But I think it's one of those kind of up or down spots.
Okay. How about shortstop?
I don't love the high-end guys tonight, and it's another spot where I think one of the cheaper guys is almost as good as the expensive guys. So especially on DraftKings where you don't have Mookie Betts, you do have him on FanDuel. You can get up there if you want, but he's expensive. You have Lindor, you have Bichette as kind of like the top tier, but neither's in a great spot. It's a park downgrade for Bichette. Lindor's against a good pitcher. They're fine. One off them in GPPs, play them in stacks, but they're not value plays. You have Anthony Volpe, though, who's batting 6th for the Yankees. He's 2.7 on FanDuel. He's 3.1 on DraftKings. And he doesn't project that much worse than the expensive guys. So I think you just take the savings. I like Gunnar Henderson quite a bit in tournaments as a one-off against Gaussman. And that's pretty much my shortstop take.
Yeah. All right. Squirrel, what are you doing short?
So I love Francisco Lindor. He was on my 600,000 team on Saturday. But again, like part of the reason that I won that money is because the Mets have been going crazy last 30 days or so. Last like 2 weeks in particular. CJ Abrams, I think, will be probably not as popular as he should be. He's going to be facing Severino. So if Severino does get really popular, I think CJ Abrams won't be. And Abrams can actually have a standout game, even if Severino's doing okay, because he gets a lot of stolen bases, which doesn't hurt the pitcher as much. Anthony Volpe, like excellent value play. And then if you do, the Orioles will probably be a little bit under-owned. I'll probably be overweight the Orioles just because they're facing, a really good pitcher in Kevin Gaussman. Gunnar Henderson at the shortstop position.
Okay, great. Then bring it to the outfield for me.
So at the outfield, and again, I'm pretty much skipping over the Dodgers just because we don't know the weather situation. I mean, they're always good plays. Obviously, if you feel comfortable playing Dodgers, Mookie Betts. But I'm probably going to be going a little bit under Betts. Wait now and going overweight like Aaron Judge, Ronald Acuna, Randy Arozarena. I guess that game has locked now at 640. But then Giancarlo Stanton is an excellent value play on FanDuel. He's only 2,800, I think, 2,900. So I've got him as one of the best projected outfielders.
Okay, great. Carty, what are you doing in the outfield?
A lot about Atlanta and the Yankees in the outfield. Acuna is easily the best play on the slate. He's expensive, doesn't matter. Find a way to get up there. Judge is really, really good as well. On FanDuel, Stanton he's still 2.9K. He's hitting cleanup against a lefty. Stanton's fantastic. Harrison Bader in the Yankees lineup is also going to be a really good play. I like the Angels stuff quite a bit. You have Trout. You probably have Trout. You probably have Renfroe. You probably have I guess those are really the two main ones. I like Randy Arozarena quite a bit as a one-off against Gomber, who's bad. He's a lefty. And I think Dalton Varsho on DK, especially for 3-1, is a really good value play.
Okay. I want to get some home run picks, but I did get this question in from Dean that I really like. He says, we're very likely not getting the Cincinnati Angels lineup until after the first 4 games lock, with then only 2 games left, Boston, Houston, and Cincy, LA. How is Squirrel handling this? Nobody's playing Cincinnati, right? Because we don't know who's going to be there. In particular, with Detmers projected to be so heavily owned.
So I'm playing a little bit of Cincinnati. I'm using mostly stacks. I don't know if I'm using any Angels or Reds as one-offs, so that I have a little bit of flexibility there. And I'm just kind of naturally ending up with in the main lineups I'm using that use Angels. I'm ending up with about 1,000 salary left over just to give myself some leeway. And also I'm assuming Trout is in and Ohtani's out. But if it's the reverse, having Trout and 1,000, I can go up to Ohtani if I need to.
Gotcha. Okay, very good. Yeah, this is fun. Okay, let's get some home run picks. How about that? That's always fun. Squirrel, you got some bombs for me?
Yeah, I was going to go Dalton Varsho and James Outman, but I'm feeling less. But you know what? Maybe James Outman in that hour that game has to play. Who's going to knock one out?
Yeah, I mean, maybe you get 2 at-bats and something happens. I just don't. I don't know. I don't feel great about it. It's not the safe play. That's the bottom line. I don't fully know what's going to happen, but that's not the safe play. So if that's what you're looking for, that ain't it. Yeah.
Just like I've said, I've seen this so often where there's a heavy rain possibility for a game, and then it ends up playing, and everybody's cheering because they've got the offense, and then the offense does nothing. Especially if it's rainy and the umps are just kind of trying to get everybody off the field. So you need 2 things to go right. You need the Dodgers to start hitting, and you need the game to play.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Very good. I always appreciate that reminder, honestly. Okay. Let's see. Carty, you got some bomb picks for me, or you want to just curse the tech gods a little longer instead? It's your call.
No, I think I got all the issues resolved, which is good.
Nice.
Top guy tonight is Aaron Judge. Mike Trout's right behind him though, and I think will not be his own, especially with all the uncertainty with that. Sneakier guy, Brandon Drury, assuming he's in the Angels lineup, projects pretty well for a home run. In terms of betting, two guys on opposite sides of the Toronto-Baltimore game project well. Cedric Mullins for plus 925 and Bo Bichette for plus 1075 on Bet365. Both show solid value.
Okay, great. By the way, John in the chat pointing out that he thinks it's unlikely Ohtani plays because he was removed for fatigue from the first game. So, they're probably not going to throw him back out there after that. All right, I'm going to pull up the RotoGrinders Discord and see if we got any questions or if it's just people demanding that I give better weather takes. We'll see. Steve O says, DKGPP, I'm playing Dodgers because I ain't never scared. Okay, good for you. He says, Squirrel, do you prefer Taylor or Outman? Last man in on that stack.
Taylor, I'm playing Dodgers because I don't have time to swap them out.
Okay.
Not because I'm fearless.
Yeah, Taylor was your answer?
Yeah, Taylor.
Okay, great. Hey, Carty, why did Urquidy only throw 30 pitches last game? Urquidy.
I can look him up real quick, but I know he wasn't fully stretched out. I think 30 was lower than we were expecting. Let me pull him up real quick.
Yeah, you're fine. I'm sure I can
do the next question while I look that up.
Yeah, not a problem. C Self-Made says, Squirrel, how about in the outfield, any Bader in the outfield on Fanduel?
Yeah, I mean, I like all the Yankees, I think, a little bit more than like maybe even projection show. So yeah, Bader's right in there. I do wonder if he's a pinch hit risk. But yeah, I think up and down the lineup, I like the Yankees as a stack.
Okay, great. Let's see. Carty, you got anything for us here?
No, he came in as a reliever, so that was probably all it was. I don't think I remember like a rain out or anything like that. He was 80 the pitch before, the game before rather. So he probably can get, 90, 95 today, but there's some uncertainty with him.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we got a couple kind of run it back questions. Squatch Happen says, hey, how's Cleveland weather? Thank you. Just got here. Yeah, if you're just tuning in, I think the most likely outcome of a wide freaking range of outcomes, which includes things going fine and things going horribly wrong, would be some sort of a delay towards the middle of the game, 4th, 5th, 6th inning, and then them never finishing the game. Like if you made me make a call, that would be my call. But the truth is I don't know. So I would just call it a high uncertainty game. And if you want to throw the dice a little bit, that's cool. Roll the dice, throw a dart. Got those mixed up there. If you want to try it, fine, but I wouldn't put, 100% of my lineups in it by any means. Carty, can you please recap pitching on DK? Thank you from L21.
Please don't make me talk about Luis Severino again.
Yeah,
I don't want to.
Squirrel is on board too. So it's kind of like you both agree this is not a good play, but it sort of is.
Yeah. Reed Detmers is the best play. He's going to be easily the chalkiest. He's the top overall play. He's way too cheap. He's in a great matchup. There's no reason you should be fading Detmers in cash. In GPPs, that's another story. You have guys like Gaussman, you have Morton, who I think are definitely fine for tournaments. But Luis Severino, really, people don't want to play him because he's been terrible. But his luck indicators have shown that he has gotten unlucky. He's been bad too. He's been bad and unlucky, which has made him horrible. But if he's just normal bad and he's in this matchup and he's this cheap, he's viable. Squirrel kind of said it earlier. Like if this was a random guy you'd never heard of, and I came on here and I said, this guy's not good, but he's in a great matchup and he's cheap and this slate is kind of not great for pitching, people would be like, oh yeah, like we can play him a little bit. And people are just not going to want it because it's Severino. So he's 5'4". He's against Washington. Just suck it up and do it.
Yeah. Okay. Dean pointing out, let's say the most likely outcome happens. Dodgers gets called after 4 to 6 innings. That does line up Kershaw with the potential, and we've seen this before, for the complete game shutout bonus that you get if you go 5 innings.
How often do we see a guy on a pitch count get the complete game shutout bonus? That would be something.
Yeah, that'd be pretty amazing. I've seen it happen, and that's not out of the question. I think it happened with Strider once when I told people not to play Strider because storms were coming, and he only went like 6 innings, which was still enough. But then he also got the complete game shutout. It was not a fun time in my mentions, I'll tell you that. It was not good days. Squirrel, is that something you consider that you care about, or not really?
Not really. It makes me feel better about not swapping out some of the Kershaw in my like low dollar 150 build, but it's like you need a ton to go right there. But it can happen.
Really do.
I think it has to go at least 4.5 innings, right? I think to be like an official game, for him to get the complete game shutout, I believe. And so
4.5
like that,
if the bottom of the inning doesn't count. Yeah, which
So you need like that's a tight window. But it like we said, it can happen. So
sure, yeah, it absolutely could. The rain is so close. It's just like I don't know. I don't think they're going to finish the game. I'll tell you that. I don't think they're going to finish it dry, and I think there's a decent chance they don't finish it. All right, DK single entry. Oh, why does today suck weather-wise? Mabs says DK single entry. Squirrel, Quintana, Sale, or Dean Shabelson (parentheses Kramer) as a pivot from Detmers. Is Dean Shabelson also Kramer? The question: DK single entry, Quintana, Sale, or Kramer as a pivot from Detmers. Squirrel.
Quintana, I'd go Sale, but I like Urquidy better than I like Urquidy for the money better than Sale.
Okay, fair enough. How about a Baltimore stack to be different? Carty, got some Baltimore? Squirrel, you're not in agreement?
I do. I'm very overweight Baltimore, but they're like projected to be low owned.
Yeah, Carty?
Yeah, I think Baltimore's totally viable, especially against the pitcher who's going to pick up some ownership.
Okay. Jay Sam says, hey, on FanDuel, Squirrel, do you think Ozuna comes in higher owned over Stanton due to recently bias? And could Carty give us Bader's pinch hit risk? So, Squirrel, start with that. Do you think Ozuna comes in higher owned than Stanton?
He could. It's gonna be really tight. I mean, I have more Stanton than Ozuna. My guess is they're gonna be like right projected, like owned right around the same amount. Maybe probably Ozuna a little bit higher.
Okay, great. And Carty, do you have Bader's pinch hit risk by chance?
Yeah, he's not a guy who gets pinch hit for very often. The bat says 1%.
Oh, okay. Sounds great. DKGPP, Carty, I'm giving this to you. LeMahieu, Acuna, and Pereira, or Olsen, Bader, Pilar?
Probably the first one for me.
Okay. Chinatown, by the way, this was a quote from earlier. This is about Severino, I assume. He's been unlucky and he's been bad. If he's just normal bad, that works. That is a pretty solid.
It's true, though.
Yep, not wrong. All right, another pinch hit risk question. What is Pilar's pinch hit risk? Should I just try to get up to Ozuna, Carty?
It's high. That's why I bet his under, but he's hitting second for some unknown reason.
That guy. Yeah.
It's like 40% or something stupid. Let me look. 37%.
Yeah. That really sucks. It's the first time all season they've done that. That's brutal. Yeah, good times. All right, let's see. Favorite single entry pitcher on FanDuel? Fun question from Boston Bra. Squirrel, who's your favorite single entry pitcher on FanDuel?
I'll be honest, it's Severino.
Woo, but
the savings, especially like now we're down to 10 pitchers on FanDuel. If we're taking out that Dodgers Cleveland game where it doesn't sound like pitchers are safe at all.
Yeah. Okay. Next question, and I want this from both of you. Who is your stack to win it all? Your one stack to win it all. Squirrel, you can go first.
I'll go Yankees.
Okay. Carty? One stack to win it all.
I like the Yankees too, but give me Angels.
Okay, wonderful. Let's see. Carty, I'm coming to you here. This is a 2v2. Kramer and Yanier, or Severino and Murphy. P.S. I've got 3 other Braves, and my other pitcher here is Detmer.
Give me Severino. I mean, I'm already on this train.
Okay, all right. John says I'm gonna do a little dart throw here, Severino. We like it. Let's see what else we got in the RG Discord here. Squirrel, have you looked at any NFL yet? And if so, any team or stack that stands out? I assume he does not mean preseason, but rather week 1 regular season.
I have not. I'm not prepared for NFL yet. So, like I've got like we actually have the live final for baseball for sponsor of the show, Fanduel, coming up in Philly this weekend.
Oh.
But I'm actually in the same position that I think you are, Kevin, because I have like 60 best ball tickets for DraftKings that I got to get through. I've never done best ball before.
Yeah.
I have no idea what that even means. Like, does that mean I have to spend like 60 hours drafting if I want to like use up all these tickets?
I think so.
And I don't know how best ball works.
Yeah.
So
we're gonna figure it out together. I will do it and let you know how long it takes. Because one thing when I mentioned I wanted to get into best ball, I did have a lot of people say like it is a serious time sink if you don't enjoy drafting. So what I take from that is that yes, you have many, many hours of drafting to do. I don't know. There's probably like fast draft options or something, but I don't even know how long.
Yeah, like auto draft.
Yeah. All right, let's see. What are your thoughts? Butthole, my guy Butthole Jenkins says, Carty, what are your thoughts on a reliever like Fernando Cruz coming in and getting more run than usual? That's crazy, right? We don't need to do that.
I don't think you have to mess with relievers. He's not even a guy. I haven't even seen speculation about him where like maybe he's like the bulk guy and comes in and steals a win and pitches 4 or 5. Like I haven't heard anything about him. So I don't think you need to do that.
Okay. Let's see what we got here. This is kind of okay. I'm just going to read this question as is. Squirrel, the GrindersLive guys said that they thought Kennedy, the starting pitcher for Cincinnati, is pitching on Friday. Any clarification on that? Thank you.
Yeah, I think TJ mentioned that. I'm not messing with the Reds pitcher, like whoever the Reds pitcher ends up being. I think we were thinking it might be Kennedy because it's game 2 of the doubleheader, right? So we don't know what the lineups are going to be.
Okay,
so I'm like, yeah, I'm skipping over Reds pitcher. He's just not in my pool, and I don't think he needs to be. But I don't know like what the price on Kennedy versus who we're now expecting to start would be. So like if you like feel passionately you need to go with the Reds pitcher, like you could probably swap Kennedy to.
Gotcha. All right. Eric says Squirrel Met stack in a DK single entry.
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I like the
Like
Mets.
it.
So.
Okay. Let's see here. Really have caught up on just about all the questions. We're about 5 minutes out. Let me look at radar here in Cleveland. I mean, it's going to start dry, but I don't know how long it's going to last. I can't imagine you get more than 90 minutes. Like, I don't think you get more than 90 minutes before storms start. And you might get way less than that if storms just start building a little farther west. All right, let's see what else we got.
Well, so what I'm seeing now is that it could be Lyon Richardson, the pitcher for the Reds tonight. I still think it's probably too cute, but this is a guy that's a decent pitcher, and he's probably very cheap, right? So, I mean, do with that what you will.
Is he in the player pool? Apparently, they just called him up.
He's made starts already this year. I have to look, but I'd
Okay.
imagine he's in the player pool.
Yeah.
I think he made one start maybe, but he should be in there.
Okay. All right. So somewhat interested or still? I feel like you're a little interested, Carty.
He's 6,600. If he was like 5K, but 6,600 is not as cheap as I thought he was going to be.
Yeah. Okay.
And we really don't know if it's going to be him.
Yeah. Right. All right. If you guys have questions, get them in. We got about 3-4 minutes until lock here. Colin Richardson says, any interest, Squirrel, in stacking against Detmers for all the monies?
I'm using Reds sparingly. Like I'm using some Reds. Like we're down to 10 teams if you're skipping over Dodgers, Indians. Dodgers, Guardians. But so I'm using some Reds, but when I'm using Reds, I'm using them as like a 5 or 3 man stack, and it's not one of my higher owned stacks.
Okay. Let's see. We got no questions coming in. Here we go. Chinatown says, so is Pilar in cash at 2.6 jackassery? And those are his words, not mine. Carty, is that jackassery at 2.6?
No, I wouldn't say it's jackassery. Like, he is one of the best point per dollar plays on the slate, but he does have that pinch hit risk. So I don't think you have to play Pilar by any means. Especially since you have some values at other spots, especially if you're doing the Severino thing. Like, you can play. He's viable. Probably not my preferred route, but he's viable.
Okay. Cleveland Picker says, hey, I'm here. The game is dry. It's, going to start. He says at around 9 o'clock is when we could start seeing storms. And I think we will definitely see storms by 9 o'clock, but I think there's a solid shot you could get storms earlier than that. Let's see. Got about a minute until lock. You guys got dinner plans? Talk to me about something happier than.
I should be saying that I'm like having caviar and lobster, but
you should.
Mexican, yeah.
You
got Mexican delivery coming. So
what did you do when you came second? Like, what was that? Were you elated? Did you celebrate? Did you stay up all night? Like, what happened? Walk me through winning $600,000, because I've won one time, $6. I was pretty freaking stoked. But never $600,000.
So like I said, the hurricane was just starting. So like we were watching like the lineups flip around, like people's lineups go up and down, and like, oh, I was like one hit away from losing 300,000. So I was like talking to the guys about like, is there going to be a stat correction? Like, what are the stats official? And then like it finally ended. There was like a little ceremony. I got like my second place. I didn't get a trophy or anything actually on that. Now I think about it, but I got my second place deposit in my bank, and then we just walked to the hotel bar, had a drink, and everybody went to bed, and like just hoped that like I went and got all the stuff off of the floor of my hotel room in case it flooded. Because I was like, I had like a poolside cabana or whatever, which is great. It was awesome. In any other situation in San Diego at a beach resort, like not the time you want like the poolside cabana.
It's literally the last time. It's the only time you don't want one. It's when the one time a tropical storm is bearing down on you. Izzy says Squirrel wins $600K on a Wednesday. That is true. Usually it's $100K, to be fair.
Yeah. So Wednesdays are for the 100,000.
Yeah, that's right. John says at $600K you have a spring for your own trophy. Did you get the giant check? I feel like that's giant check worthy.
First place got a giant check.
I mean, $600K is worth a giant check. Come on.
To be fair, I've already walked down the streets of San Diego with a giant check. So I've had that experience. Time for somebody else to have it.
Nice. That's fair. All right. Did you get to talk to the guy who came first? Was he nice to you? Was he a dick? How did that go?
Hishbu. Yeah, he's great. He doesn't have like huge online presence or like do content to my knowledge. But yeah, he's a great guy. I've actually met him at other live finals. I don't think it was his first $1 million win on DraftKings. But yeah, he's a good player, and I think he had a bunch of seats. It came down to him taking one of the stacks where the lineup wasn't announced in the game 2 of a doubleheader. So that's where Tampa Bay Rays like went nuts on Saturday.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
I was actually kind of glad it wasn't close. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. It'd be worse if it was like if you lost by like a quarter of a point or something. Would be.
Yeah.
How heavy is the giant check? We got to bounce here shortly. How heavy is the giant check? Do you remember carrying that thing, thinking like, "Oh, this is more than I bargained for"?
I actually have it in my closet back here still. But it's just like kind of styrofoam, so like it just folds. But like I remember this is back in 2018. I did fly it across country, like back to the DC area. And I thought like the flight attendants would be like, oh, thinking it was funny and stuff. They're like, sir, please fold your giant check and put it in the overhead so we can take off. Like, okay, I'm sorry. I was like, can you guys help me? They're like, no, please fold that up and get it to the overhead.
How much money was that one for, that giant check? Do you remember?
That was 300,000.
300,000. That is so funny that you walked on a plane with a giant.
The people in the airport thought it was funny. Like the flight attendants were like, we got to get this plane on the road.
Quick side story. I was going through after my brother's wedding. The groomsmen gifts he gave out were like fancy lightsabers because he's a Star Wars nerd and he worked for them. So we're going through the airport after the wedding, and we have multiple lightsabers. Like me and my wife both had a lightsaber, And we go through security, and my wife was so nervous putting these things through security. And they get up to like the guard, and my wife goes, "Don't worry, they're not real." As if lightsabers are a real thing. I don't think they were worried that we were going to cut them in half with laser beam swords. Like I think we were going to be okay. Anywho, that made me laugh. All right, hey, we're going to bounce on that wonderful note. So for Squirrel, for Carty, for our wonderful production team, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you, and we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.